Chapter 1378. Over the past few days he had been continuously capturing spies, and everyone who saw him was terrified. This feeling was great. The middle-aged fatty despaired as he waited to be captured. Two hedonistic youths giggled as they tried to grab him, but suddenly, a huge force descended and flung them away. The middle-aged fatty stared blankly at the woman standing beside him. This woman was called Yuhua, and she had applied to be his bodyguard half a month ago. He had not paid much attention to her at first because she was young, and he had only accepted her because she was too beautiful. He had other plans, but he had never expected that she would actually make a move against a commoner. How audacious! The white fatty watched as his two subordinates were flung away and smashed into the ground. His expression changed to one of excitement and anger. Good, I've finally met someone who dares to resist. Boys, go. As soon as he spoke, the group of hedonistic youths charged at the strange bird. The strange bird was uneasy, and it cried out in alarm as it swayed about. The middle-aged fatty almost fell to the ground. Yuhua stood steadily and moved forward with a light tap. The strange bird paused and howled, but it no longer dared to move about. In front of her, the group of hedonistic youths charged over. Yuhua frowned, raised a hand and flicked her finger. With a single strike, the air was impacted by a huge force that transformed into visible ripples that swept out in front of her. The group of hedonistic youths had come quickly, but they left even faster, falling to the ground like rain. The white fatty raised his eyebrows and grinned. I'm not afraid that you won't resist. I'm just afraid that you won't be able to beat me. Your handsome brother is here. He then shuttled through the air and rushed behind the strange bird, punching at Yuhua. 4 Ultimates technique, Kuei Bear. Yuhua's expression changed slightly, and she recalled the unparalleled speed of Wang Yi from the Sovereign Tournament. She was Yuhua Mavis, and she had appeared in the humble Huayun school after arriving at the 7th mainland. She had used many methods to finally join and had been sent to protect the middle-aged fatty. She did not know who the fatty was, but she knew that she had to obey his orders. Only then would she have a chance to stand out from the rest of the poor and attract the attention of the young ancestor. Even Yuhua wanted to approach the young ancestor through the humble school, as this was the fastest and most convenient way to do so. In front of her, the fatty's fist descended, and Yuhua Mavis did not dare to underestimate him. Back when Wang Yi had used the Kuei Bear's 4 Ultimates technique to compete with Lu Yin's empty palms, they had been evenly matched. Yuhua Mavis' strength was a bit weaker than the two of them, but this fatty was only a hunter, so she did not use her unlimited strength. Bang! Huge sound waves spread out in all directions, forming visible shockwaves that dissipated layer by layer. Then they transformed into a huge force that crushed everything below. The group of hedonistic sons who had been smashed to the ground earlier now knew what strength was, and they were beaten into the ground one by one. Naturally, the strange bird couldn't withstand the power of the two of them and fell down with a wail. The white fatty was sent flying by Ascension Mavis' fist. Regardless of realm or strength, he was far inferior to Ascension Mavis. Even with the support of the 4 uniques, he still couldn't win. His body flew into the air and stabilized with great difficulty. His right arm was already twisted unnaturally. Looking at Ascension Mavis in shock, the white fatty clenched his teeth. I can't win, I can't go up again. Ascension Mavis controlled the monstrous bird to take flight once more, bringing the middle-aged fatty towards the west. If they were allowed to leave, then the white fatty's mission would be considered a failure. He looked in the direction that the monstrous bird had left in, and his eyes lit up. Right. He raised his hand and the Cloud Connect stone trembled as Lu Yin's image appeared. Brother, there's a spy escaping in your direction. Help me and stop them, but don't fight them head-on. You're not their match. Just delay them for a while and I'll call for reinforcements. Lu Yin was shocked. There's a spy that can escape from you? But then he realized that the white fatty was only a hunter, and even if he was from the Wang family, he could at most rival a powerhouse with a power level of 300,000. This power level was considered quite good in the 5th mainland, but it was nothing in this region of space. What's their strength? Lu Yin asked. The white fatty anxiously replied, Don't ask. You won't be able to stop them anyway. A woman is too strong and she's abnormal. I'll call for reinforcements. Our humble school doesn't have many things, but there are plenty of experts who can walk the earth. Lu Yin put down his hand and looked towards the east. Were they trying to stall for time from that direction? The influence of the humble school was great, and regardless of whether it was in the lower realm, the middle realm, or the top realm, there were many people who joined the humble school. There were indeed many experts in the humble school, and all they needed to do was stall for time. However, Lu Yin had his own misgivings, and he did not want to interfere with Yu Chen's spies. If he did, the consequences would be hard to predict. Sorry, Fatty, but I can't help you. Under normal circumstances, as long as Lu Yin stood by and watched the Fatty's spies escape, it would have nothing to do with him. However, he had not considered the issue of speed. The humble school dominated the astral tree realm and participated in capturing and killing all year round. In terms of mobility, how could they be any weaker? The white Fatty was unwilling to let the spies escape, and he continued to follow them from behind. Yu Hua Mavis's mission was to protect the middle-aged Fatty, not to help him deal with the humble school. No matter what the Fatty promised, Yu Hua Mavis only said one thing. As long as no one attacked them, she would not interfere. Both parties chased after each other until they reached the place that Lu Yin had seen. The white Fatty saw Lu Yin's group, and Lu Yin also saw the middle-aged Fatty on the strange bird's back. It was Yu Hua Mavis, and he was dumbfounded. "Brother, help me stop them. The merit belongs to everyone," the white Fatty shouted. The middle-aged Fatty trembled in fear, and he followed the white Fatty's gaze to see another group of people from the humble school on the ground. Yu Hua Mavis also looked down, and she saw Lu Yin and Invisible Light. She blinked. Someone familiar? Lu Yin was here? Hadn't he gone missing? Had he come early? Lu Yin was speechless, and Invisible Light sighed behind him. No matter how big the universe is, a certain level will always be small. We'll always run into someone we know. Go ahead and play with someone you know, Lu Yin said helplessly. The white Fatty was watching, and he could not just sit back and watch. Invisible Light nodded and took a step forward, releasing a terrifying domain. It was as if a boulder had been tossed into a calm lake, causing the void in front of everyone to boil. Everyone felt as if they were being seen through from the inside out, and they felt as if they could no longer control themselves. High up in the sky, the majestic domain transformed into a force field. It was Invisible Light's appearance, and he reached out to grab the strange bird. The middle-aged Fatty was stunned, and so was the white Fatty behind him. This domain was too terrifying. This region of space had a higher level of domain cultivation, but at his age there were very few people who could reach Invisible Light's level of strength, which shocked everyone. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. Invisible Light's casual display of his domain had already surpassed the strength he had displayed when he had fought Ziyi with his eyes open. He had improved again, and not just by a small margin. If he had opened his eyes, Lu Yin was not sure how terrifying he would be, but it would definitely surpass the strength he had displayed during the Sovereign Tournament. This guy had actually grown so much in such a short time. Behind the strange bird, Yu Hua Mavis looked up and exhaled. This was not the first time she had fought Invisible Light, and they had fought several times before. They both understood each other, and this battle was more of a show than a battle. It was impossible for her to take the middle-aged Fatty away, and besides Invisible Light, there was also an even more terrifying Lu Yin below. Thinking of this, Yu Hua Mavis leapt off the strange bird's back and punched at the force field. There was a loud bang, and the air rapidly shrank before exploding, forming an unparalleled shockwave that swept out in all directions. Everyone was pushed back, and the strange bird howled in agony as its body shattered into pieces and blood rained down from the sky. The middle-aged Fatty crashed to the ground. If not for the white Fatty protecting him at the critical moment, he might have been finished. Yu Hua Mavis and Invisible Light's battle was meaningless, and the two separated not long after. Yu Hua Mavis left immediately, but before she left, she gave Lu Yin a deep look. Lu Yin was puzzled by her strange gaze. The white Fatty grabbed the middle-aged Fatty and walked over to Lu Yin and Invisible Light. He exhaled heavily and gave Invisible Light a thumbs up. "Bro, you're amazing. How did you cultivate? It's rare to see someone your age who can cultivate a domain to such an abnormal level." Invisible Light smiled. "Luck." Lu Yin looked down at the middle-aged Fatty. Who was that woman just now? The white Fatty also remembered, and he viciously grabbed the Fatty's neck. His hands were covered in grease, and he was disgusted. "Speak, who was that woman?" The Fatty's voice trembled. I don't know. She's a bodyguard I recruited." The white Fatty was enraged. "Bodyguard? Do you think I'm an idiot? She's so young, but she's already comparable to the elites of the 4 cardinal scales. It's not easy to defeat me, to be honest. The fatty was about to cry. I really don't know. Her name is Yu Hua and she's really a bodyguard I recruited. I only saw how pretty she was, that's why. That's why. The white fatty shouted. That's why I recruited her. I wanted to warm my bed, the fatty whispered. You're a beast, the white fatty and the group behind him shouted in unison. Lu Yin's gaze turned strange. They were speaking in unison. These people were the real beast. The white fatty coughed awkwardly and smiled at Lu Yin. About that, bro, you guys help me stop this fatty. We'll split the merit. Lu Yin smiled. No need, it was nothing. The white fatty smiled even more happily. Bro, you're treating me like an outsider. Half is half. He then looked at Invisible Light with a burning gaze. Bro, can your domain become even stronger? Invisible Light raised an eyebrow. Yes. The white fatty clapped his hands excitedly. Are you interested in coming to the Wang family to play? I, Wang Dashuai, represent the Wang family's young ancestor Wang Su, to invite you to the Wang family as a guest. Invisible Light's expression changed and the first person he thought of was Wang Yi. If he met Wang Yi at the Wang family, then he would be finished. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Why should I be a guest at the Wang family? The white fatty replied, let's go first. Don't worry, I won't harm your bro. Just treat it as some fun. He then stared at Invisible Light. Bro, what do you think? Go. The 4 cardinal scales Wang family's invitation is something that many people can't even dream of in their entire lives. Plus, you'll be able to meet one of the 4 young ancestors. Due to the lag on the Zhongheng app, many of the brothers were unable to see the update at 8:30 p.m. Sui Feng knew that many of them were used to having a chapter at 8:30 p.m. and a chapter at 10:30 p.m., so Sui Feng made up for it by adding an update at 3 p.m. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1379. The white fatty did not speak directly as this involved the sovereign realm. However, both Lu Yin and Concealed Light knew. He had traveled far and wide to no avail. Invisible Light wanted to enter the eyes of a junior ancestor through the humble school and follow a certain junior ancestor to the sovereign realm. Over here, Fatty Bai sent out an invitation. Although he couldn't be sure that Invisible Light could follow Wang Su to the sovereign realm, he could give Invisible Light a chance to meet Wang Su. This was a shortcut. It's my honor to receive an invitation from the Wang family, Concealed Light smiled. He could only hope that Lu Yin's claim that Wang Yi would not appear for the next 10 years was true. Otherwise, all of his efforts would be wasted. He could not give up on this opportunity as this was the reason he had come to this region of space. Besides, even if he did not go to the Wang family, once Wang Yi appeared and heard their names or saw them in the sovereign realm, they would still be finished. The white fatty was delighted. The Wang family had been thrown into chaos because of Wang Yi's matter, and Wang Su had anxiously searched for someone to accompany him to the sovereign realm. Concealed Light had finally found someone. I'll contact the family as soon as possible and then I'll bring you back to the top realm. It won't be long. Lu Yin pursed his lips. What about me? The white fatty laughed dryly. Brother, what do you have to say? You're the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline. You'll have to visit the Wang family, Xia family and Bai family in the future. Concealed Light is my brother and he'll have no relatives in the top realm. You can't let him suffer, Lu Yin reminded him. The white fatty patted his chest. Don't worry, leave it to me. If he's lucky, his future accomplishments will not be simple. He'll even be an honored guest of the Wang family. Let's go and report back to headquarters. On the other side, Yuhua Mavis landed on the ground and looked into the distance. She had not expected to run into Obscurity and Lu Yin during this protection mission. Obscurity was one thing, but everyone had come together. They had just been separated, but why was Lu Yin here? Hadn't the rumors disappeared? Could it be that he had come early? His identity was not simple and he was also from a humble family. The cloud pass stone trembled and an image appeared in front of Yu Hua. It was the second of the 3 Guan brothers, Guan Hai. Yu Hua greets Lord Guan Hai. Yu Hua Mavis respectfully bowed. Guan Hai frowned. Something happened to him? Yu Hua Mavis replied, yes, he was captured by the humble school of the Yin Mountain district. You can't protect me? Guan Hai shouted. Apart from Zhuxi, the rest of the commoners in the Yin Mountain district are all trash. With your strength, you should be able to take him away. Yu Hua Mavis replied, We ran into a domain expert and it's very difficult for us to win. Both teams are in the Yin Mountain region. Guanhai frowned. A domain expert? What's his name? Ascension Mavis' eyes flashed. He didn't know if Invisible Light had changed her name or not, as they all had their own pride. Almost none of them would change their appearance, but their names were different. For example, she had hidden her Mavis surname. I'm not sure. I closed my eyes. Guanhai's eyes flashed. Got it. I didn't expect him to be an expert. Suddenly he thought of something. Has Long Qi made a move? Yuhua Mavis shook her head. From the beginning to the end, only the Wang family and that man with his eyes closed fought with me. No one else made a move. Guanhai was overjoyed. Great, that's great. Go to the Yin Mountain district and wait for me at the border of the Huai Plains. We'll be there soon. Understood. After ending the call, Guanhai immediately went to look for Guan Tong, and after some discussion he called for Guan Yun, and the three brothers headed towards the Yin Mountain district. A day later, Zhou Xian drafted a draft of his contributions and reported it to his superiors. The arrival of the three Guan brothers with Yu Hua shook the headquarters in the Yin Mountain district. Zhou Xian frowned, a cold glint in his eyes as he stood up and walked out. Not long after, Lu Yin received a notice to head to the main hall of the headquarters. Invisible Light and Fatty Bai had also received the notice, and everyone in the Yin Mountain district had gathered there, including Fatty Bai and the spies that Lu Yin had captured. When Lu Yin arrived at the main hall, he immediately saw the three Guan brothers and Yu Hua standing quietly behind them. He frowned. It seemed like these three were up to something. He carefully recalled his actions over the past few days, but there was nothing to nitpick about. Fatty Bai stared at Ascension Mavis and rubbed his eyes. He didn't see wrongly. Why was this woman here? When Zhou Xian saw that Lu Yin and the rest had arrived, he said impatiently, Sect Master, if you have anything to say, just say it. I've been too tired in the Yin Mountain district and need to rest. Guan Tong coldly replied, as long as one thing is confirmed, Sect Master Zhou can rest for as long as you want. He then stood up and stared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. He was indeed being targeted. His disguise was really troublesome. Long 7, you've been doing quite well recently. You've captured quite a few spies and even received the Righteous Medal. Congratulations, Guan Tong smiled coldly. Lu Yin raised a brow. Just say what you have to say. He was Long 7, the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline, so he didn't need to be too polite to Guan Tong. Guan Tong wasn't angered by this either. I suspect that there's something wrong with Long 7's contributions. How long have you been in the Yin Mountain district? It's not normal that you've been able to capture so many spies. You've been falsely claiming contributions, and the person you've been falsely claiming is called Concealed Light. Concealed Light was the one who captured the spies, and the captured spy was a pawn of the Huayuan sect. To prevent any accidents, we've specially sent experts to protect him. Yu Hua stepped forward. Concealed Light was the one who repelled me while protecting the spy. Long 7 did not do anything. Fatty Bai gritted his teeth. She was actually one of his own people. This woman was too strong. Guan Tong sneered. Concealed Light is extremely strong, but Long 7 isn't. He's been falsely claiming contributions all this time. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. It was another false claim. Was there nothing else that a commoner could be guilty of besides this? Sect Master Zhou, you'll know if it's a false claim when you ask him. Lu Yin stepped aside. Concealed Light stepped forward. Thank you for thinking so highly of me, Sect Master Guan, but I've disappointed you. Captain Long did not falsely claim contributions, and all of them were earned by him. I was only responsible for fighting. Is that so? Then tell me, Long 7, how did you capture so many spies in just a few days? Most of these spies have never even met you. Guan Tong barked. Zhou Xian suddenly spoke up. Enough. Everyone looked over. Sect Master, no matter where Long 7's contributions came from, even if they were given to him by someone else, it's not against the rules. The rules only state that you cannot falsely claim contributions, but they don't say that you can't give them to others. If someone complains that they've been falsely claimed, you can uphold justice for that person. However, no one has done so, and he hasn't even acknowledged the person you've confirmed. You're being too childish just based on this, Zhou Xian growled. Guan Yun shouted, Zhou Xian, you dare call my brother childish? Who do you think you are? Zhou Xian glared at Guan Yun coldly. impatient. An emissary-level pressure descended, causing Guan Yun's expression to change. Beside him, Guan Hai waved a hand to disperse the pressure. Sect Master Zhou, my brother hasn't finished speaking yet. Don't be in a hurry to get angry. Zhuoxi snorted. Guan Tong continued to look at Lu Yin. Sect Master Zhou is right. If someone else had given it to you, it wouldn't be a big problem, but if it was given at the expense of our humble school, then that's not right. He then looked at Zhuoxi. Zhu family, most of the spies you've just captured are pawns of our humble Huayan school. We used them to bait out other spies, but you caught them all in one fell swoop. Aside from our humble Huayan school, the names of these spies are known to the upper echelons. Guan Tong looked at Lu Yin again. This upper echelon includes the four-way scales. Guan Yun shouted angrily, someone purposely exposed this list so that someone else could gain merit at the expense of our humble Huayan school's benefits. Bullshit. The white fatty grew anxious. He was the one who had captured most of the spies. You're trying to slander the Wang family? We wouldn't do such a thing. Guan Tong smiled. Don't worry, Captain Wang. How did you capture them? How did you know they were spies? The white fatty was stunned and subconsciously looked at Zhuoxi. Guan Tong followed his gaze. Sect Master Zhou, it seems like you're the reason. How did you accurately determine that they were spies? Who told you? Or did you investigate on your own? It would be too much of a coincidence if you investigated on your own. Most of the spies you found were pawns of our Huayan school. Zhuoxi frowned and fell silent for a moment. If I'm not wrong, the list of spies came from Draconic 7, Guan Hai said. Yu Chen's backup plan had been laid out here. Handing over a list of spies and not arresting them would be his responsibility, but arresting them would offend the three Guan brothers. The Guan brothers had every right to make things difficult since they were the ones who had set up the spies. How could he defend himself? Could he say that Yu Chen had given him the list? Without any evidence, slandering the frigid Immortal sect would only cause more trouble and give Yu Chen an even better excuse. If he didn't say that Yu Chen had given him the list, then where had the list of spies come from? Actually, Lu Yin should have thought of this problem from the very beginning. He had been capturing spies too frequently, and no one would believe him if he casually said that he had an innate gift that allowed him to see through people's minute details unless he could prove it. Lu Yin spoke up. Sect Master, this world is too big and it's not strange for a person to have an innate gift. I just happen to have an innate gift that allows me to see through a person's minute details. Of course, it might not be completely accurate, but the accuracy is very high. He didn't always catch spies accurately, and there were times when he deliberately caught the wrong ones and released them after interrogating them. This was all to deceive others. Guan Tong stared at Lu Yin. It seems like you're very confident. Alright, I'm not that stubborn. How about we make a bet? What kind of bet? Lu Yin asked. Guan Tong's lips curled up. There's a city in the Huayan called Crimson Orchid and there are definitely spies there. As long as you can find them within 10 days, I'll admit that you have the ability to see through people's minute details. Crimson Orchid City is about the same size as Yinshan City, and if you can catch 5 spies in a few days in Yinshan City, then Crimson Orchid City should be no exception. Besides, I'll give you 10 days. Thank you, brothers, for your support and encouragement. Thank you. Chapter 1380. Everyone looked at Lu Yin, some taking pleasure in his misfortune, some with sympathy and many with complicated expressions. Zhuoxi spoke in a low voice. Mr. Doormaster, everything you said before was just your conjecture. You can't convict him without evidence and this bet is a joke. You can leave now. Guan Hai interjected. When have we ever cared about evidence? What my brother just said can be used as evidence and we can present it to the superintendent. I don't know if the superintendent will believe you or us. Zhuoxi frowned. Lu Yin spoke up. Fourth uncle, I have something to present. Zhuoxi was puzzled. What is it? Everyone looked at Lu Yin curiously as well. Could he turn the situation around by presenting something now? Guan Tong frowned. Could it be that Yu Chen's list had exposed her identity? She couldn't be that stupid. Everyone watched as Lu Yin approached Zhuoxi. He quickly passed by Guan Tong, Guan Hai and then Guan Yun. He paused when he was within 5 meters of Guan Yun. Guan Yun's mocking expression suddenly froze, and he looked like he had been struck dumb. 6 pips allowed him to enter a person's body and control them. As long as he was within 5 meters of that person, he could invade their consciousness, switch perspectives and read their memories. This was the source of Lu Yin's confidence. Lu Yin switched to Guan Yun's consciousness and began to read his memories, searching for memories related to Crimson Orchid City. He quickly recovered and stood in place, deep in thought. Long Qi, what do you want to present? Wuxia asked. Everyone looked at Lu Yin strangely, not understanding why he was standing there. Lu Yin scratched his head and laughed dryly. Sorry, fourth uncle, I didn't bring it with me. I'll present it next time. He then looked at Guan Tong. You want to bet? Sure, Crimson Orchid City, right? No problem. Everyone was confused, feeling that Lu Yin's actions were strange. Guan Tong found it strange as well, but since Lu Yin had agreed, he had achieved his goal. Everything he had done today had been in exchange for Lu Yin's trip to Crimson Orchid City. No one knew that a monster from the mortal world had appeared beneath Crimson Orchid City. Once provoked, it would go berserk and devour everything in its path. It was even stronger than an emissary. He wanted Lu Yin to go to Crimson Orchid City and provoke that monster to devour the entire city. That way Lu Yin would naturally die. Even if those heart-wrenching remarks were proven to be true, this person would only be punished. With the White Dragon clan's ability, they might not be able to expel him. Guan Tong wanted to get things done once and for all. After all, they had joined the human race's great enemy. The death of 1 million people in Crimson Orchid City was nothing to them. To them, this was a meritorious service. Furthermore, they could eliminate Lu Yin in one fell swoop and curry favor with the frigid Immortal sect. Zhou wanted to stop them, but Lu Yin had already agreed to the bet, so he helplessly said, You can leave now, sect master. I still have matters to attend to in the Yin Mountain district. Guan Tong looked at Lu Yin with a smile hidden deep in her eyes. Long 7, the spy might leave at any time during the mission. When do you plan on leaving? Lu Yin thought about it. In 3 days. Guan Tong smiled. Alright, let's do it in 3 days for 10 days. If you can't find the spy within 10 days, then it'll prove that all your contributions were given to you by someone else, and that they were obtained at the expense of our humble class. When the 9 Gates superintendent gets angry, no one knows what will happen to you. Lu Yin raised his head. I know, but I have a condition. Guan Tong's gaze turned cold. What condition? Lu Yin shouted. I want the 3 of you to be at Crimson Orchid City as witnesses. Of course, I also implore fourth uncle to be there as well to prevent anyone from cheating. Who are you calling cheating? Guan Yun roared. Guan Tong stopped him. All right, we 3 brothers will be waiting for you at Crimson Orchid City in 3 days. He then led Guan Hai, Guan Yun and Yuhua Mavis out of the headquarters in the Yin Mountain district. Zhou looked at Lu Yin helplessly and shook his head, but he didn't say anything else. The white fatty looked at Lu Yin sympathetically. After the others left, Lu Yin found Zhou again. Hey, you're too impulsive. Don't you know how you got those contributions? Zhou reprimanded. He had always thought that Lu Yin's contributions had come from the White Dragon tribe and that Guan Tong's spies had come from the frigid Immortal sect. Lu Yin solemnly replied, Fourth uncle, now's not the time to talk about that. I've discovered something big. Zhou was puzzled. What is it? Lu Yin adjusted his words. The 3 Guan brothers might be redbacks. Zhou's pupils shrank and his expression changed. What did you say? Lu Yin sternly replied, The 3 Guan brothers might be redbacks. Zhou's usual laziness was gone and he shouted, You can't speak without evidence. If others hear about this, Guan Tong can sue you for slandering a fellow disciple. This is a taboo. Lu Yin replied, I have evidence, but I need to go to the humble Huayan school to get it. That's why I agreed to Guan Tong's bet at Crimson Orchid City. You never planned to go to Crimson Orchid City? Lu Yin nodded. Please cooperate, fourth uncle. Don't let the 3 Guan brothers find out that I didn't go to Crimson Orchid City. As long as I delay them for a few days, I'll definitely be able to find evidence at the humble Huayan school's headquarters to prove that the 3 brothers are redbacks. Zhou fell into deep thought. Lu Yin knew what he was worried about. Zhou was worried that Lu Yin would use him as a cover to escape. Fourth uncle, I'm the son-in-law of the White Dragon tribe's main bloodline, and I can't run anywhere. Losing the bet is better than having my reputation ruined. Zhou nodded. But I agree. Go to the humble Huayuan school's headquarters in Crimson Orchid City. I can help you delay them for 5 days, and with the current 3 days it'll be 8 days. Is 8 days enough for you to find evidence? Lu Yin nodded. Yes. Then go, don't delay. Zhou Xian waved his hand. Lu Yin immediately thanked him. Thank you, fourth uncle. After Lu Yin left, Zhou Xian looked into the distance. Since when had the White Dragon tribe's intelligence network become so powerful? They had even found out that the three Guan brothers were redbacks. This intelligence network far surpassed the frigid immortal sects. Redbacks were extremely difficult to detect, and every one of them was well hidden. How could the outside world have guessed that the humble Huayuan school's master was a redback? If the three Guan brothers really were redbacks, then it would be enough to shake the entire humble school. But would this kid be able to find evidence? The second Guan brother was cautious, and there shouldn't be any evidence outside. Hopefully, the White Dragon tribe would be able to help this kid find evidence. The White Dragon tribe had really invested a lot for this kid. Lu Yin felt a headache coming on as he watched the cloud connection stone vibrate. Long Shi's image appeared in the void, and she glared at Lu Yin angrily. What are you doing? Lu Yin blinked innocently. What do you mean, what am I doing? What did I do? Long Shi roared. I told you not to do anything and to just stay in the Yin Mountain region. You've been capturing spies recently and even implicated the Huayuan school. Don't you think there's enough trouble? Lu Yin was puzzled. Weren't those spies given to me by your elder brother? Long Shi paused, suddenly remembering that this person was just a minor character from a branch of the White Dragon tribe. How did he know that they were spies? And how did he capture them? Someone must have told him that they were given to him by her elder brother. Tell me in detail how you knew they were spies. She couldn't blame Lu Yin. No matter how she thought about it, he seemed innocent and pure like a Shaobai sheep, doing whatever he was told. Lu Yin replied, I didn't use any special methods. I just sent the list to the cloud connection stone. I saw it and thought it was your elder brother, so I went to capture them. By the way, I even made up a good excuse saying that I have an innate gift for seeing through people. He pretended to be proud as he spoke. Long Shi's head hurt and she was on high alert. If it wasn't her elder brother, then who could it be? Was he helping them or harming them? It was more likely that he was harming them. Could it be that woman called Yuchen? She still didn't know about the bet between Lu Yin and the three Guan brothers, or she wouldn't have acted like this and wouldn't have believed him. Lu Yin heaved a sigh of relief and pretended to be surprised. Hey, don't tell me that list wasn't given to me by your elder brother. Long Shi frowned and looked at Lu Yin. Don't worry about that. I'll say it again. From now on, don't go anywhere in the Yin Mountain region without my notice. That includes Yinshan City. Got it? Got it. Don't worry, I'm an honest person, Lu Yin answered straightforwardly. Long Shi looked at Lu Yin with suspicion and repeated herself several times, but to no avail. Her attitude was abnormally sincere and she could tell that this guy was just pretending. She could control him when she was around, but once she wasn't around he would be like a wild horse that couldn't be controlled. Thinking about this, Long Shi's tone softened. Long Qi, remember that our current situation is very complicated. The frigid immortal sect is the leader of the four cardinal scales and is tyrannical. They can destroy the entire Tu family with just a little reason. Bai Xiaohong is ruthless, and with that woman called Yuchen, you're in an unimaginable situation. One wrong step and you'll be doomed. Even I can't save you. My elder brother Long Tian is a junior ancestor, but he's afraid of Bai Xiaohong and the woman behind him. He doesn't want to fight to the death with Bai Xiaohong, so he can't protect you with all his strength. If you want to live, you have to wait quietly. At least in the Yin Mountain region no one can touch you. Don't do anything and you won't be criticized. Do you understand? Lu Yin nodded. Got it. Don't worry, I won't cause trouble. Long Shi frowned. She felt that this guy didn't mean what he said, but what else could she say? She couldn't let this guy tie himself up, right? It's good that you understand the severity of the situation. If anything happens to you, the White Dragon tribe will lose face, but no one will bear the pain of death for you. Remember, the frigid immortal sect is the most terrifying power in the universe. Don't do anything rash. Don't do anything. Long Shi's tone was much stricter. Lu Yin solemnly promised, I won't do anything rash. Long Shi's image disappeared, and she only ended the call after repeating herself a few times. Lu Yin put down his hand. Why didn't this woman trust him? Was he really that untrustworthy? With that thought, he left the headquarters in the Yin Mountain region and headed towards Huayuan as quickly as possible. Chapter 1381. Not long after Lu Yin left the Yinshan district headquarters, the white fatty found obscured light. His goal was simple. He wanted obscured light to stay out of this matter and wait for the Wang family's reply before heading over to meet Wang Su. Obscured light refused not because he wanted to help Lu Yin or because they were from the same hometown, but because he had no choice. If anything happened to Lu Yin, they would all be in trouble. He regretted not changing his appearance and name, but who would have thought that he would run into Lu Yin so soon? The astral tree realm was huge, and if the 10 of them were to split up, they would probably run into each other in the sovereign realm. By then it would be time for them to leave. This was what Elder Chan had told them before they left, and he hadn't forced them to change their appearances or names. Those who had become the top experts of the 5th and 6th mainlands naturally had their own pride, which could affect their future progenitors. Who would have thought that they would run into someone they knew so quickly in the vast astral tree realm? This was pure luck. Obscured light had no choice but to help, even if he didn't want to. The white fatty gave him a thumbs up and praised, "It's rare to see someone go this far for a brother. From today onwards you are also my brother. Don't worry, once this matter is over and I meet the Wang family's junior ancestor, I'll definitely put in a good word for you. Even if you don't succeed, I'll still let you stay in the Wang family." Obscured light asked curiously, "What won't succeed?" The white fatty replied, "You don't need to know that yet. I'll tell you once it succeeds. You'll definitely be excited to death. That's a place that everyone in the astral tree realm dreams of." Obscured light looked up into the distance and saw a tree trunk that blocked the other side of the astral tree realm. If a tree had a trunk, it would have a crown. That was the sovereign realm, and it was also the most valuable place in the universe. He would definitely go there no matter the cost. After long she ended the call with Lu Yin, she contacted Long Tian. Long Tian felt that something was off. Someone was interfering in the battle between the White Dragon clan and the frigid Immortal sect. From the looks of it, the outcome was favorable to Draconic 7, but Long Tian didn't know what the other party's goal was. He didn't even know who the other party was. Thus he contacted the Nine Gates superintendent and asked Draconic 7 to retire early. Initially he had planned to retire after Long 7 had made some contributions. For this he had made a plan. However, before the plan could be implemented, Long 7 had already made some contributions. Now all he needed to do was retire. There was a time limit for those who wanted to retire. For example, interrogator Kuai Shu had no background, so he had to wait until his time was up. Even though Lu Yin had Long Tian's help, he still had to wait for 2 months to retire. He had already done it for a month, so there was still half a month left. However, Long Tian couldn't wait any longer. He knew Yuchen very well and definitely wouldn't give up. There was also that unknown person who provided the name list to Long Qi. He didn't know what would happen to Long Qi, so he couldn't wait any longer. The Central Plain Realm's 9 Gates supervisor was named Qin Chen. His appearance looked to be in his early 40s. His temperament was aloof, as if he was untainted by dust. However, who would have thought that it was precisely this type of person who was viewed by others as a butcher? His path was carved out through slaughter. The ones he killed were all spies and redbacks. Junior Long Tian greets Senior Qin Chen. As a junior ancestor, Long Tian could act arrogantly in front of others, but he didn't dare to do so in front of Qin Chen. This was not only because of his status but also because of his strength. Qin Chen was a half-ancestor. Qin Chen calmly looked at Long Tian. Addressing him as a senior was normal, but Long Tian also had another identity, which was the director of the humble class. Every junior ancestor was a director of the humble class, and Long Tian could call Qin Chen a subordinate or a junior. Different titles represented different positions. So it's junior ancestor Long. What's the matter? Long Tian respectfully replied, "My sister is getting married and my father would like to invite Senior Qin Chen to Dragon Mountain for a gathering. We haven't seen each other in many years and my father misses you." Qin Chen smiled. "Since Brother Long has invited me, I naturally have to go. Speaking of which, it's been 1,000 years since we last met." Long Tian smiled. "My father often mentions Senior, saying that Senior will definitely become the next progenitor and bring glory to the human race." "Ah, your father would say that about me? It's already good enough that he doesn't curse me to die." "Senior, I'm not lying." Qin Chen laughed. "There must be something else you want to talk to me about. Tell me." Long Tian respectfully replied, "There are 3 steps to a wedding in the White Dragon clan. The first is to pay respects to the ancestors, the second is to pay respects to the ancestral Mang, and the third is to register in the main clan's genealogy. My sister and brother-in-law have already completed the first and second steps, but the third step has yet to be completed. My father wants to bring my brother-in-law to Dragon Mountain and complete the third step. Qingqian's eyes flashed. Your brother-in-law? Long Qi? Yes, he's in the Yin Mountain district. Long Tian bowed. Senior, I would like to request that you allow my brother-in-law to retire early and return to Dragon Mountain to get married. Qingqian stared at Long Tian, who bowed and did not move at all. After a while, Qingqian spoke. Do you know who retired the quickest in the history of the humble class? Long Tian moved his finger and respectfully replied, Senior Xu Yuan. Why did you retire? 1 month and 22 days after joining the humble class, I accidentally encountered Redback. I fought with my life on the line, but in the end all 4 of my limbs were broken. I was delayed until reinforcements arrived and I retired due to my injuries. Since you know, why did you ask for Long Qi to retire early? Is his military service greater than Senior Xu Yuan's? Long Tian fell silent. This was a hurdle that no one could bypass. No matter who it was or how great their background was, if they wanted to retire after joining the humble class, they could not do it faster than Xu Yuan. Otherwise, it would be disrespectful to their seniors and their spirit of sacrifice. This was also the reason why Long Tian had asked for Lu Yin to retire in half a year. As long as it took more than 2 months, it would be easy to handle. It would be very difficult to retire within 2 months, otherwise Long Tian would not have asked Qingqian for help. Senior, it is impossible for Long Qi's military service to surpass Senior Xu Yuan's. My White Dragon tribe has no intention of being disrespectful to you, Long Tian hurriedly said. Qingqian did not hold back. If that's the case, then don't mention it again. Long Tian was helpless. Senior, please listen to me. He told Qingqian about how Lu Yin had obtained the name list and his speculations. There was no other way. If he wanted to retire early, he had to rely on Qingqian. Furthermore, Qingqian had never interfered with the struggles of the 4 cardinal scales. Otherwise he would not have come to the central realm. How could a half-progenitor stay in the central realm? Furthermore, Qingqian had a feud with the Frigid Immortal sect, so Long Tian was not afraid that Qingqian would help the Frigid Immortal sect deal with his White Dragon tribe. Qingqian was shocked when he heard Long Tian's words. It wasn't your White Dragon tribe that gave him his military service? Everyone thought that Lu Yin's military service had come from the White Dragon tribe, including Zhou Xian and the others. Long Tian was helpless as well. The military service did not come from my White Dragon tribe. Even Long Qi himself does not know who gave him the name list. This is what we're most worried about. That's why we want him to retire as soon as possible and come to the top realm. As long as he stays at Dragon Mountain, we won't have to worry about any accidents. Qingqian was puzzled. Someone actually interfered with the battle between your White Dragon tribe and the Frigid Immortal sect. The first person he thought of was the Wang family, as there was a Wang family member in the Yin Mountain region. Senior, can my brother-in-law retire early? Long Tian asked expectantly. Qingqian shook his head. No matter what the reason is, he cannot retire early unless his military service surpasses that of the Shu Plains seniors and he has a reason to retire. Otherwise he has to stay for at least 2 months. Long Tian's expression turned ugly as Qingqian was not giving him any face at all. This person was an old friend of his father's, so it was no wonder that his father was unwilling to step in. Senior, you have your own considerations and I do not dare to force you. If that's the case, could you please take care of my brother-in-law? He's just a hunter and he's not very strong. He's also simple-minded and he can be easily manipulated by others. He won't even know when or how he'll die. Qingqian replied, I'll do my best. Thank you, Senior. I'll take my leave now. Long Tian reluctantly ended the conversation. Qingqian retracted his gaze. He had already known about the battle in the Yin Mountain region, and he was also aware of Lu Yin's actions. He had originally thought that the White Dragon tribe had given Lu Yin his military service, but he had not expected that to be the case. This was interesting. Had someone else interfered? Or had no one interfered? Qingqian's eyes flickered, and he once again flipped through the recent events in the Yin Mountain region. He felt like he had overlooked something. On the other side, Long Tian sighed. He had guessed that Qingqian would not give him any face, but the old man had promised to take care of Lu Yin. As long as Long Seven behaved himself, nothing should happen. Just as Long Tian thought of this, an old servant appeared and whispered something to him. Long Tian was furious. "Bastard, look at yourself. How dare you make a bet with the three Guan brothers? You're courting death. You're courting death." The old servant lowered his head and did not make a sound. Long Tian's anger soared, and he wanted nothing more than to run to the Yin mountain region and rip out Lu Yin's tendons and skin him alive. Long Tian had lost all face because of this bastard, and he had even lowered his head and begged for help. On the other hand, Lu Yin was causing as much trouble as he could. If not for the fact that he wanted Long Shi to accompany him to the sovereign realm, Long Tian would not have cared about that bastard's life or death. In fact, he would have wanted to stomp on him and make him die even faster. As one of the four young masters, Long Tian had never suffered such humiliation. That bastard kept causing trouble for him, and he had not been able to cultivate peacefully. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, and the situation was getting out of hand. Long Tian roared, "Go to Crimson Orchid City and capture Long Seven for me. If anyone dares to stop you, tell them that they violated the White Dragon clan's rules. Once the punishment is over, you can return to the Yin mountain region." This was the worst-case scenario that Long Tian had predicted. If Long Seven was forcefully taken away, not only would he offend the humble school, but the White Dragon clan's main bloodline would also be mocked. However, he had no choice. He could not just watch that bastard be played to death. If that happened, he would be mocked even more. Long Shi could not accompany him to the sovereign realm, and she might even marry Bai Xiaohong. That would be a disaster for the entire White Dragon clan. He could not let the frigid Immortal sect interfere with the White Dragon clan's revival, especially that woman. He would not hesitate to pay any price for this. Right? Did that old man Xianxia know about the bet? Long Tian's eyes flashed. He definitely knew, but that old bastard had not said anything. On the other side, Yuchen put down the cloud vision stone. She had just contacted Guan Tong, and she could not help but admire his ruthlessness. He actually wanted to kill Long Seven directly. No one would blame them if they died in the mouth of a monster, and Long Seven was the one who had agreed to the bet. Chapter 1382. Even though the bet was set up, Yuchen still felt that something was off. She thought about it and wondered if she could turn the tables if she were in Long Seven's shoes. She thought about it for a long time, but the answer was no. Aside from the three Guan brothers, no one knew their true goal. No one knew that there was a monster under Crimson Orchid City. This was a trap that could not be broken unless Long Seven had the strength to defeat the monster, but that was impossible. The monster was an emissary. The three Guan brothers were still secretly making their move. Long Seven would have to ask for help from a superpower house, but even if he could save his life, he would still lose the bet. He would not be able to explain himself to the Nine Gates superintendent, Qingchen. No matter how he thought about it, this trap could not be broken. Yuchen stopped thinking about it and let go of Long Seven. Now that this brat was dealt with, the next step was to recruit experts to accompany the junior ancestor to the sovereign realm. The experts who accompanied the junior ancestor to the sovereign realm had to be of the same generation. This was a rule set by the ancestors, and there were very few who were qualified to accompany the junior ancestor. There were only 2 people in the entire frigid Immortal sect, and they still needed to recruit 2 more. Although the Yin Mountain district was adjacent to the Huayuan district, the central realm was too vast. Even with the speed of a humble mount, it took almost 7 days to reach the 2 places. Along the way, Lu Yin received a call from Long Shi, but he did not pick it up. Talking to her right now would be asking for a scolding. In the distance, there were circular rivers that connected the heavens and the earth. Every river contained land, cities, and even armies. This was the headquarters of the humble Huayuan district. It took Lu Yin half a day to reach the humble Huayuan district's headquarters. Lu Yin did not get too close to the humble Huayuan district's headquarters. Instead, he stopped at a city in the distance. He had no intention of going in to look for evidence. This was the headquarters of the humble Huayuan district, and even if the 3 Guan brothers were not there, it would not be easy to enter. Furthermore, there was no way he could open the place where the 3 Guan brothers had stored the evidence. The 3 Guan brothers were extremely cautious. As leaders of the humble school, they had not been discovered to be redbacks for so many years. They had their own methods. Lu Yin was not naive enough to think that he could obtain evidence by reading Guan Yun's memories. However, he didn't need evidence. He already had evidence. He raised his hand and the scarlet vertical eye appeared in his palm. This thing was the evidence. From Guan Yun's memories, he learned that the greatest enemy of humanity in this part of the universe was the same as the greatest enemy of humanity in the Fifth Mainland. They were all zombies and they all had the same symbol, scarlet vertical eyes. Only redbacks had scarlet vertical eyes, which was the symbol of a redback. It was also a way to contact those zombies. The scarlet eyes of the three Guan brothers were hidden in the most secretive place of the Huayuan Humble School's headquarters. He knew where it was, but he couldn't get it. Coincidentally, he had more than one. He had two scarlet vertical eyes, one from Silver on Earth and the other from Wu Shang, who had ambushed Ming Yen on the Shenwu continent. Other than that, he also had a stone tablet with a scarlet vertical eye, which was more than enough. The three Guan brothers were unlucky. If he wanted to put on an act, he couldn't be too hasty. If he took out the evidence now, even an idiot would know that there was a problem. How could the three brothers of the Guan family store the evidence of being a redback so easily? Lu Yin stayed in the city that had recently received the headquarters of the humble school of Huayuan, and he stayed there for 5 days. Far away in Crimson Orchid City, Xiao Guang accompanied the fake Lu Yin to stroll around. With Zhuxi's help, not even Guan Tong could tell that Lu Yin was a fake. However, Guan Hai gradually realized that something was wrong. Lu Yin was too calm, so calm that it was a little strange. His expression hadn't changed from start to finish, which was impossible. People couldn't change their subconscious habits, and Guan Hai had investigated Lu Yin's whereabouts in the Yin Mountain region during this period. He had discovered that the current Lu Yin was completely different. He immediately blocked the path of Lu Yin and Xiao Guang. "You're not long 7. Guan Hai shouted as he stared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin was still as calm as ever. Xiao Guang frowned. This was troublesome. Zhuxi appeared and blocked Lu Yin. "Guan Hai, the deadline isn't up yet. Are you going back on your word?" Guan Hai stared at Zhuxi and sneered. "He's not long 7 at all. You found a fake long 7 to participate in the bet. The real long 7 must have fled long ago." Zhuxi shouted, "Guan Hai, I respect your elder brother as the sect master of the Huayan sect. Don't go too far." At that moment, Guan Tong brought Guan Yun and Yu Hua Mavis over. "Second brother, what's going on?" Guan Hai whispered something to Guan Tong. Guan Tong smiled at Zhuxi. "Sect Master Zhua, there's no need to hide anymore. A fake is a fake and the real one isn't. Don't worry, I won't force you. Whether it's real or fake, you'll have to give me an explanation when the deadline is up." He hoped that Lu Yin would escape so that he wouldn't have to waste time arguing with the Nine Gates superintendent. Although Lu Yin wouldn't die in Crimson Orchid City, he would have completed his task to Yu Chen and achieved his goal. Crimson Orchid City could also be used as a means of concealment. This was a perfect outcome and they wouldn't have to offend the White Dragon tribe. Zhuxi wasn't flustered by Lu Yin's exposure either. His original goal of keeping the three Guan brothers in Crimson Orchid City had been achieved. The three Guan brothers had questioned Lu Yin's method of capturing spies in order to lure him to Crimson Orchid City and kill him. Lu Yin had used this point to keep the three Guan brothers in Crimson Orchid City, which would make it easier for him to act in the humble Huayuan sect. Both sides were scheming in the dark, but Lu Yin was one step ahead of them. His Dai's enhance allowed him to predict the enemy's movements, making him truly omniscient. At the same time, Lu Yin contacted Zhuxi from outside the headquarters of the humble Huayuan sect. Zhuxi looked down and saw the Cloud Connect stone vibrate. His eyes lit up as he connected and Lu Yin's image appeared before everyone's eyes. Guan Tong sneered, "It really is a fake." Lu Yin looked at Guan Tong. "Sect Master, you're ruthless." Guan Tong didn't understand. "What do you mean? You dare to appear after escaping? If I were you, I'd hide my identity for the rest of my life and never let anyone find me." Lu Yin was helpless. "This junior wants to do the same, but I'm burdened with the righteousness of the human race and I can't escape." He then raised his hand and the scarlet eye appeared. Everyone felt a chill run down their spines as they stared blankly at the scarlet eye. The people of the humble Huayan sect were all too familiar with this symbol. It was the symbol of the human race's greatest enemy, the redbacks. Guan Tong and the others were shocked when they saw the eye in Lu Yin's hand. Could this person be a redback? No, that couldn't be. A redback wouldn't expose himself on purpose, and if he wasn't a redback, Where did that symbol come from? Sect Master, the three Guan brothers have betrayed the human race. What else do you have to say? I got this from the headquarters of the humble Huayan sect. Zhou Xian glared coldly at Guantong. Guantong's scalp went numb. He never would have thought that Lu Yin would claim that the symbol belonged to them. They did indeed have it, but they would never reveal where it was hidden. Guan Hai stepped forward and shouted, Long Seven, how dare you slander us? My brother is the sect master of the humble Huayan sect. How could he be a traitor? Do you think the humble Huayan sect's assessment is a joke? Guan Yun roared, Long Seven, you're courting death. Lu Yin arrogantly replied, This symbol was found in the headquarters of the humble Huayan sect. Fourth uncle, contact the Nine Gates superintendent and have them arrest the three Guan brothers. The evidence is conclusive and they can't deny it. Zhou Xian immediately contacted Qianxia. Guantong and the others looked at each other, conflicted. For a moment they didn't know what to do. If they didn't act and allowed Zhou Xian to contact the Nine Gates superintendent and find out that they were redbacks, they would die without a doubt. But if they acted, there would be no need to investigate as they could directly prove that they were redbacks. What if Long Seven was lying to them? What if the symbol was a fake? If they acted, they would really be exposed. Even the usually calm Guan Hai was stunned and didn't know what to do. Zhou Xian contacted the Nine Gates superintendent Qianxia and relayed Lu Yin's message. Qianxia was dumbfounded. He knew that the redbacks had hidden themselves well, but he never thought that one of the sect masters under his command would be a redback. His first reaction was that it was impossible, and that this was the work of the White Dragon tribe. However, Zhou Xian couldn't have lied. Also, this evidence had been obtained by Long Seven. Qianxia thought of the unknown power that had provided Long Seven with the list. This piece of news stunned everyone. No matter what, he had to make a trip to the headquarters of the humble Huayan sect to see for himself. With that thought in mind, he stepped into the void and disappeared. In Crimson Orchid City, Zhou Xian ordered the others to retreat, leaving only the three Guan brothers. The evidence is conclusive. Surrender. Guantong shouted, I am the sect master of the humble Huayan sect. How can I be a redback? Zhou Xian, you dare join forces with Long Seven to slander us? Zhou Xian was actually quite nervous. With Long Seven's strength, it was unlikely that he would be able to infiltrate the headquarters of the humble Huayan sect to obtain evidence. However, Long Seven had the White Dragon tribe behind him, and they couldn't possibly allow him to slander the three Guan brothers. Otherwise it would be a huge joke. He chose to believe the White Dragon tribe, not Long Seven. The redbacks are hidden very deeply. In the past, the highest level of the four-side scale was the redbacks. What's so strange about you three brothers being redbacks? Zhou Xian said loudly. Guantong was furious. You Lu family bastard. Instead of being a coward, you dare to slander us? You're courting death. With that, he immediately attacked, causing the void to crack. With a palm strike, he broke through the void and disappeared. On the opposite side, Zhou Xian heard Guantong's words and recalled his past memories. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he waved his hand and cut through the void. A gigantic spatial crack split the entire Crimson Orchid City in two, and Guantong was the first to be knocked back. He was shocked. Zhou Xi's strength had exceeded his expectations. He had a combat level of more than 600,000, while Zhou Xi's was definitely more than 700,000. Everyone thought that Zhou Xi's combat level was only slightly above 500,000. Damn bastard, we've all underestimated you. Guantong shouted. Behind him, Guan Hai leaped into the air and waved his hand. The void condensed into a river, converging into an indescribable force that pressed down on Zhou Xian. Zhou Xian dodged. The river slammed into the ground, breaking it apart and tearing the void apart. Chapter 1383. Zhou Xi's palms glowed with a dim light as he stared at Guantong. His gaze scanned Guantong's body and finally landed on Guantong's right shoulder. Guantong's hair stood on end. Not good. Just as Zhou Xian was about to attack, an extremely unpleasant shriek came from underground. It sounded like someone was scratching glass with their fingernails, and the sound shattered all the houses in Crimson Orchid City. Countless people covered their ears and trembled as they fell to the ground. Everyone looked down at the ground. Ming Guang frowned as a chill ran down his spine. He felt a fatal danger. Ascended Mavis continued to rush into the distance, but there was a monster beneath her feet. Along with the strange cry, A creature that looked like an earthworm but was larger than the entire Crimson Orchid City soared into the sky, forming a black line that connected the sky and the earth. It raised its head to the sky and let out a strange cry. With Crimson Orchid City as the center, the sound spread in all directions, pushing the void and turning into ripples that spread out. Even Zhou Xian was shocked. This monster's power level was definitely over 700,000. Where did it come from? The three Guan brothers looked at each other. They had underestimated this monster. It was much stronger than them. The monster twisted its body and flung out violently, turning half of Crimson Orchid City into ruins. Zhou Xian hurriedly intervened. If the monster was allowed to do as it pleased, the millions of people in Crimson Orchid City would die. The monster roared at Zhou Xian, who kept retreating. Guan Tong, if you want to clear your suspicions, deal with this monster first. Big brother, the place where those things are stored in the headquarters is not something that Long Qi can touch. Moreover, if that place was destroyed, I would definitely know about it. Long Qi has never been to that place, so that symbol definitely can't slander us. Guan Hai quickly reminded him after regaining his clarity of thought. Guan Tong jumped up. Deal with the monster. Wait, brother. Guan Hai shouted. You should go back to the headquarters and destroy those things to prevent the superintendent from finding them. Guan Tong seemed to have woken up from a dream, and he turned around to head back to the headquarters of the humble Huayuan sect. Zhou Xian wanted to stop him, but the monster was blocking his path. He couldn't pass through it easily, and there was also Guan Hai. Sect Master Zhou, I'll help you. Guan Tong, you want to silence us? You still want to slander us? Once Superintendent Xianxia finds out that you and Long Seven are slandering us, you'll be doomed. Zhou Xi's face was solemn as he joined forces with Guan Hai to deal with the monster. Guan Yun retreated far away. His strength was not enough to interfere in this kind of battle. He still had Ascension Mavis behind him, and Obscurus and the others from the Yin Mountain District headquarters were on the other side of Crimson Orchid City. Guan Tong rushed to the headquarters of the humble Huayuan sect. The Nine Gates supervisor, Xianxia, was also heading towards the headquarters of the humble Huayuan sect. At this moment, Lu Yin was waiting outside the humble class headquarters. With a humble class mount, it would take a few days to travel from Qilin City to the headquarters of the Huayuan humble class. However, with the emissary's strength, she could travel through the void regardless of the consequences and arrive in less than 2 hours. Although Guan Tong was very close to the headquarters, Xianxia was a half-martial ancestor. The distance he could cover was incomparable to Guan Tong's. In the end, he arrived at the humble Huayuan sect's headquarters one step ahead of Guan Tong. Lu Yin had seen Xianxia's image before, and the moment Xianxia descended, he immediately appeared. Xianxia also saw Lu Yin for the first time. I am Long Qi, the captain of the humble school in the Yin Mountain District. Greetings, Superintendent. Lu Yin bowed respectfully. Within the humble school of Huayuan, everyone noticed Xianxia's arrival and bowed in unison. Greetings, Superintendent. Xianxia waved his hand and dismissed them. He landed on the ground and looked at Lu Yin with a serious expression. You are Long Qi? Yes, I am Long Qi, Lu Yin replied. Xianxia looked at him. Let me see it. Lu Yin immediately handed the scarlet eye over to Xianxia. Through Guan Yun's memories, he was absolutely certain that the scarlet eye was the symbol of the redbacks in this region. Xianxia looked at the scarlet eye in his hand and a murderous glint flashed across his eyes. There was no mistaking it. This was it. He had personally eliminated no less than 10 redbacks in the past, and all of them had this thing that could communicate with each other. There was no mistaking this aura. At this point, Guan Tong finally arrived. His heart sank when he saw Xianxia, but he did not panic. He quickly landed on the ground and bowed respectfully. Guan Tong, the leader of the humble school of Huayuan, greets the superintendent. Xianxia looked at him coldly and raised the scarlet eye. This is yours. Guan Tong's tone was low as he angrily shouted, Superintendent, this Long Qi has wronged me. This thing is not mine. Xianxia looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin was calm and composed. Superintendent, I obtained this symbol in the humble school's headquarters. That place is rather secretive, and aside from the 3 brothers, almost no one else knows about it. If you don't believe me, I can take you there for a tour. Guan Tong's eyes flickered as he thought of that place. Impossible, how could this brat know about it? Even the White Dragon tribe would not be able to find out. Xianxia glanced at Guan Tong and said, Lead the way. Lu Yin immediately led the way with Qingchen by his side and Guantong at the back. Qingchen was not worried that Guantong would escape. Trying to escape in front of a half-ancestor like him? Impossible. Even a powerhouse with a power level of 1,000,000 would not be able to escape from him, let alone Guantong. Lu Yin could not sense Qingchen's strength, but he guessed that he would not be any weaker than Elder Chan or the Elysium Heavenly Master. Someone at this level would be at the peak of the fifth mainland, but in this region of space he was only a 9-gate superintendent. The strength of this region of space was not on the same level as that of the fifth mainland. The headquarters of the humble school of Huayuan was surrounded by several tributaries that connected the heavens and the earth. Each tributary looked small from a distance, but upon entering one would discover that it was like a river or an ocean. There were islands, continents, cities and strange creatures that lived in the water. The three Guan brothers would always hold secret meetings in a passage on the opposite side of a continent. When Lu Yin brought them to the continent, Guantong's expression changed and became incomparably pale. The moment Lu Yin entered the water, Guantong felt powerless, and his eyes unconsciously flickered. Qingchen saw all of this and the depths of his eyes were frighteningly cold. Not long after, Lu Yin brought Qingchen and Guantong to the back of the continent, where they entered a passage from the bottom of the water. Guantong's pupils shrank and he suddenly turned to flee, but Qingchen grabbed him. "Where are you going, master?" Guantong was grabbed like a little chick, unable to resist at all. Lu Yin took a deep breath and followed the passage to the innermost part. There was a rather luxurious building here, and hidden underground was a scarlet eye that contained much of the information that Guantong and the others had reported. Lu Yin did not look at it. Qingchen saw it and his face turned ashen. "Wow, I never thought that the master of one of the Middle Realm's 9 gates would be a redback. What a joke, what a shame." Guantong's legs went weak and his face turned pale. It was over, it was all over. Qingchen put away all of the evidence. "Let's go to Crimson Orchid City." He grabbed Guantong with one hand and Lu Yin with the other before tearing through the void and disappearing. This was not the first time that Lu Yin had been taken through the void by someone stronger than an emissary. Every time he had been unable to see his surroundings clearly, and this time was no different. When he opened his eyes again, they were already outside of Crimson Orchid City. A half-ancestor's speed was incomparable to Guantong's, and it took only the blink of an eye. Crimson Orchid City had long since been reduced to ruins, and Zhou Xian had joined forces with Guan Hai to deal with the creature. With Qingchen's arrival, the creature seemed to sense something, and it rushed underground in fear. Qingchen frowned, "Evil creature," and pressed down with his hand. The earthworm-like creature let out a mournful wail as its body disintegrated layer by layer, finally disappearing from the world. Everyone kept quiet out of fear. A half-ancestor's unparalleled power made it so that no one dared to breathe. Guantong was ruthlessly thrown to the ground, all of his meridians broken. Most importantly, his right shoulder had been shattered, and the most important astral origin cyclone for an emissary had dissipated. He was now a cripple. Seeing Guantong's miserable state, Guan Yun screamed, "Brother!" and rushed over. On the other side, Guan Hai made the exact opposite decision and rushed in a different direction. Unfortunately, he could not escape. Qingchen casually moved a finger and his right leg was cut off. Similarly, the astral origin cyclone dissipated, but Guan Yun was not so lucky. Qingchen's attack had been heavy, and he was crushed into a puddle of blood. Lu Yin felt that it was a pity. He had wanted to merge with Guan Yun's memories to investigate the surname Lu. Through this person's memories he could learn more about this part of the universe. Subordinate Zhou Xian of the Yinshan district greets the superintendent. Zhou Xian respectfully bowed. The moment he saw Guantong leave, he knew that he had made the right bet. The White Dragon tribe had not disappointed him. The rest of the people from the humble school bowed in unison. Qingchen nodded and scanned the entirety of Crimson Orchid City. He sighed. The appearance of a monster had killed hundreds of thousands of people, which was not uncommon in this part of the universe. Although there were many experts in this part of the universe, there were also many monsters in the mortal realm. Natural disasters and man-made disasters were something that even progenitors could do nothing about. Qingchen had cultivated for so many years and he had seen even more miserable things. This was too insignificant. With a wave of his hand he threw Guan Hai beside Guantong. Both of them were extremely miserable. Qingchen calmly said, Everyone is here. What else do you have to say? Guantong's face was ashen. The evidence had been investigated and there was nothing left to say. Guanhai was unwilling to accept this and he glared at Lu Yin with hatred. Superintendent, it's true that the three of us are redbacks. Since we've been found, we'll definitely die, but I can't accept this. Qingchen looked at Guanhai. What do you mean? Guanhai endured the pain of his injuries and gritted his teeth. The symbol in Draconic Seven's hand does not belong to the three of us. Qingchen looked at Lu Yin. Zhou Xian and the rest also looked at Lu Yin. Lu Yin had not expected Guanhai to drag him down with him even before his death, but he had considered this before. Furthermore, with Guan Yun's death, this explanation was even more convincing. The symbol does not belong to you or your brother. It belongs to Di Meng's third brother, Guan Yun. What did you say? Guanhai was stunned for a moment, then angrily said, You still want to slander my third brother? No one can blame us for our fate today, we can only blame ourselves for relying on the enemy. We were blind, but we can't allow others to frame us. The three of us are one and we only have one symbol. Where did the second symbol come from? We only have one. Lu Yin confidently asked, Guanhai, are you sure about Guan Yun? Chapter 1384. Do you think you know him better than I do? Guanhai retorted. Lu Yin smiled. I wouldn't dare say that I know him better, but Guan Yun may seem crude on the outside, but he's actually bold and careful. He hit the second symbol and it's right here. He then whispered the name of a place. Guanhai felt as if he had been struck by lightning when he heard the name. This was a secret place that only the three of them knew about and it had no use. They had only known about it so that they could hide there if their identities as redbacks were discovered. They had already prepared for the worst, but they hadn't expected that they wouldn't even have the chance to hide. Guanhai had no choice but to believe that Lu Yin had mentioned this place, since only the three of them knew about it. Guantong closed his eyes. He had nothing else to say from the moment the evidence had been discovered. Even if you found where third bro hid the symbol, how did you find out about the headquarters? You can't do it on your own. Guanhai was unwilling to give up and wanted to drag Lu Yin down with him. He hated Lu Yin to the core. If not for him, none of this would have happened and they wouldn't have been in such dire straits. Lu Yin laughed. You really don't want to give up. Since that's the case, I'll make you give up. He then waved. Come. Not far away, Yu Hua Mavis walked over and bowed to Lu Yin. Yu Hua of the humble Huayan school greets the superintendent. Even an idiot would know what this meant. She was one of Lu Yin's people. Guanhai's eyes went wide and he stared at her in disbelief. Yu Hua, why you betrayed us? She frowned. I'm a human, how could I rely on you redbacks? Well said, Zhou Xian praised. Guanhai was furious and his blood rushed to his heart. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. Due to Yu Hua Mavis' betrayal, Lu Yin was so angry that he had almost lost his rationality. He had never considered that even if Yu Hua Mavis had betrayed him, she would not have been able to find that place. Lu Yin did not answer this question directly, but no one dared to delve deeper into it. Everyone knew about Lu Yin's achievements and there was definitely someone behind him. Qingchen glanced at Lu Yin. This kid had purposely agreed to the bet with the three Guan brothers in order to lure them to Crimson Orchid City. He had then used Guan Yun's hidden symbol to lure Qingchen to the headquarters of the humble Huayuan school. Then Lu Yin had led Qingchen to the humble Huayuan school's headquarters to search for evidence and push the three Guan brothers into the abyss. Step by step, the three Guan brothers had been led by the nose from start to finish. His scheming was not bad, but the most important thing was, how did he know where Guan Yun had hidden the symbol? Qingchen had doubts and so did the others. However, they all attributed the credit to the White Dragon clan. Only the White Dragon clan could do it. After all, they were one of the four scales. In their eyes, Lu Yin was just a tool for the White Dragon clan. Could it be that this was the merit that Long Tian had given him? Qingchen suddenly guessed, but he quickly denied it. Long Tian should not have known about the bet and he wanted this kid to retire early. Moreover, the merit of capturing the redback was too great. How could he give it to this kid? There were too many doubts about this matter, but now was not the time to delve into it. This kid had captured the redback and his merit was great. It could be said that he had surpassed the predecessor of Shuyuan. If Long Tian asked him to retire early again, it would be difficult for him to refuse. This kid had made a lot of contributions in a short time in the humble school. No matter who had given him these merits, it was always beneficial to the entire humble school and the human race. Xianxia did not want him to leave so soon. In the distance, an old man stood in the corner and watched the scene quietly. He was the old servant who had come to capture Lu Yin under the order of Long Tian. When he arrived, he happened to see this dramatic scene. He looked at Lu Yin with eyes full of admiration and amazement. He was very sure that Lu Yin's merit did not come from the White Dragon clan. Then where did it come from? Was there someone else behind this person? Was it that unknown force? The junior ancestor was very afraid of that force, and he did not know if it was a friend or foe. Although Draconic 7 had used the help of an unknown force to find out that the three Guan brothers were redbacks, he had lured them away and cooperated with Zhou Xian to invite the Nine-Gate superintendent over. This ability was not bad and could not be considered disgraceful. As he thought about this, Xianxia looked over from afar. The old servant bowed slowly. Xianxia retracted his gaze and looked at Lu Yin. He praised, "Draconic 7, you exposed the three Guan brothers as redbacks. Your merit is great. Let me go back and think about it. There will be a reward later. You can return to the Yin Mountain district and wait there." Lu Yin respectfully replied, "I serve the humble school and do not ask for any merit. I just want to do what I can for my people and fight against the enemy from the outside." Yuhua Mavis rolled her eyes. "Disgusting." Zhou Xian pouted. "It was too fake." Ming Guang raised an eyebrow. Qing Chen's eyes lit up. "You want to work for the humble school so much? For your people?" Lu Yin was already used to such words and he subconsciously replied, "I'll do anything for you." Powell said, "My humble family lacks energetic young people like you. Alright, I'll think about it when I get back. I'll give you a new job and I'll definitely satisfy you." With that he left with Guan Tong and Guan Hai. Lu Yin was confused. Why was Qing Chen so happy? Wait, did he say something wrong? He thought about it, but no, it was normal. Zhou Xian looked at him strangely. "Draconic 7, you don't want to retire?" He suddenly remembered that Long Shi had told him to retire as soon as he made some contributions. Previously he might not have been able to retire so early, but now that he had made so many contributions he might be able to retire immediately as long as Long Tian did something. However, what he had just said had blocked the path to retirement. No matter what Long Tian did, Qing Chen would have a reason to refuse. Lu Yin licked his lips, speechless. He had spoken too quickly. "Serves you right," Yuhua Mavis said. Invisible Light smiled. "Interesting." Lu Yin was speechless. What was interesting? He had done this bet behind Long Shi's back, and once she found out that he had blocked his own path to retirement, she would definitely be furious. He suddenly thought of Guan Hai and Mo Gaohe. Was he getting better at pissing people off? "Let's go back to the Yin Mountain district. Someone else will take care of Crimson Orchid City," Zhou Xian said. Lu Yin looked at Yuhua Mavis. "You won't be able to return to the humble school of Huayin. How about you come back to the Yin Mountain district with us?" Senshin Mavis nodded. "All right." Invisible Light smiled. "I've been invited by the Wang family to meet their junior ancestor, Wang Su." Her eyes flashed. "Looks like you're one step ahead of us." "Not necessarily," Lu Yin said. "Fatty invited you because he couldn't see that Invisible Light had the strength to fight you. If you come back with us you might be invited as well." Senshin Mavis' eyes lit up. Invisible Light pondered for a moment. "That's a good idea. We can take care of each other. It's said that even the junior ancestor is in danger of dying there." The trip to the Sovereign Realm was the opportunity for the top 10 in the Sovereign Tournament. They had all come to the Sovereign Realm to search for the origin item. This was the most important thing. Lu Yin felt that he was the one who was the furthest away from that opportunity. Everyone else could display their strength and go to the Sovereign Realm, but what about him? No, he had to think of a way to go there. Strength was the foundation of everything and he could not forget his roots. It had been a long time since the humble school had made such a big move. One of the 9 gates of the Middle Realm was actually a redback, which made many people feel that this was a fantasy. This matter was a slap to the 9 gates of the Middle Realm as well as to the entire humble school. When the 3 Guan brothers reported this matter to the entire humble school, the governor of the humble school was completely enraged. He ordered the humble school to conduct an investigation. Regardless of whether it was the sect master, the captain, or even the members of the humble school, they were all required to conduct an investigation. Long Qi's name naturally spread throughout the humble school. In the frozen immortal sect in the Peak Realm, Yuchen cut off all contact with the three Guan brothers and looked at the report in front of her. It was the most detailed report from the beginning of the bet to when Guan Tong and Guan Hai had been taken away by Qin Chen. The more she read, the more serious her expression became. Even if an ordinary person knew that the three Guan brothers were redbacks, it would not be so easy to expose them. However, Long Qi had used the bet to expose the three Guan brothers' true identities. His scheming was not simple. If there was no one else helping him, he would not be as easy to deal with as he seemed. It seemed that she would need to think about how to deal with this person. However, this person had made such a great contribution and the White Dragon tribe had paid a heavy price. He would be able to retire soon. Yuchen frowned. Once he retired, it would be very troublesome. Don't worry about the White Dragon race for now. The trip to the ruler's realm is coming soon. Although I can go alone, I need someone to run errands for me. Find 2 people to accompany me as soon as possible, a gentle voice said from behind Yuchen. Yuchen bowed slightly. Yes, junior ancestor. When he returned to the Yin Mountain district, Lu Yin felt different. The people around him looked at him with caution, vigilance, envy, and all sorts of mixed emotions. This was something that he had never experienced before. In the past, these people had looked at him with disdain. Getting rid of the 3 Guan brothers in one go, Lu Yin could imagine how much of a stir this matter would cause in the humble class, and how many people would study him. The white fatty had been waiting outside the headquarters in the Yin Mountain district for a long time. When Lu Yin's group returned, he immediately pulled Invisible back to the Wang family in the Peak Realm. The junior ancestor wants to see you quickly, the fatty urged. Invisible Light looked at Lu Yin. I'm leaving. Lu Yin nodded. At this time, the fatty looked at Yu Hua curiously. Why is she here? Invisible Light smiled. She helped Brother Long find where the Guan brothers hid their evidence. She can't return to the humble school of Huayuan. Fatty White looked at Ascension Mavis and fell into deep thought. Let's go, Brother Wang? Invisible Light asked. Are you willing to come with me to the Wang family to see the junior matriarch? The white fatty asked Yu Hua. At this point he came to a realization and said to Invisible Light, Brother, don't mind her. That matter requires a few people and we're not asking her to replace you. It's fine. Invisible Light did not mind at all. Chapter 1385. He was curious. What's the matter? The white fatty did not know how to explain. The ruler's realm was not common knowledge and not just anyone could know about it. If they failed, then obscurity and Yu Hua might not even be qualified to know. No matter what, the Wang family of the 4 cardinal scales will not mistreat you, Lu Yin said. Ascension Mavis nodded. The white fatty looked at Lu Yin gratefully. Brother, I'll take them to the Wang family, but I'll probably be back after a while. Thank you for your hard work. Feel free to go to Savory Brothel and I'll pay for everything. Lu Yin smiled. Thank you. We're good friends. The white fatty was very happy. Junior ancestor Wang Su had ordered the entire Wang family to search for experts of the same generation who were qualified to accompany her to the ruler's realm, and he had found 2 of them. Regardless of whether they succeeded or not, it was still a contribution and he was very happy. Not long after, the white fatty left the Yin Mountain district with Obscurity and Yu Hua heading for the top realm. Lu Yin returned to his residence and waited quietly. Less than an hour later, the Cloud Connect stone vibrated. He was helpless. What was to come had come. Long Xi's beautiful image appeared in front of Lu Yin. Her expression was cold and her eyes were filled with anger. Do you have anything to say? Lu Yin pursed his lips. Sorry, I had no choice. Long Xi angrily rebuked him. Do you know what you've done? You're playing with fire. You're just a hunter, and you dare to go against the humble Huayan sect master? You're just relying on a piece of unknown information and you dare to make a bet? Where did you get your confidence from? Who gave you the confidence? Do you know? If you fail, it won't just be you. Me, Long Tian, and the entire White Dragon clan will become the laughingstock of the Astral Tree realm. There has never been peace between the 4 cardinal scales, and we've fought and schemed against each other. You almost became the White Dragon clan's biggest weakness. Lu Yin rubbed his head as he listened to Long Xi's reprimand. He knew that she was angry, but he had not expected her to be this angry. You actually dared to ignore my calls? Do you think that you can do whatever you want just because you've made a few contributions? Do you think that everyone will help you? If it weren't for your status as the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline, you would have died long ago. Lu Yin frowned. If it weren't for my status, no one would have tried to deal with me. You agreed to this identity, so you have to bear the consequences. In this life and death, you and I are one. If you want to live, then listen to me, said Longxi angrily. Lu Yin retorted, can you stop that woman called Yu Qin from scheming? Can you stop the 3 Guan brothers from forcing me? But I can protect your life, Longxi shouted. She then softened her tone. That's enough. I don't ask you to bring glory to the White Dragon tribe, and I don't ask you to reach great heights. As long as you're alive, that's enough. Lu Yin's heart trembled. Longxi's words actually made him feel a sense of warmth. Many people truly wanted him to live regardless of their motives. He could feel Longxi's sincerity, her sincerity to let him live without seeking fame and glory. I'm sorry, he apologized. Longxi stared at Lu Yin for a moment before exhaling. The 3 Guan brothers must have known about the monster under Crimson Orchid City a long time ago. They didn't intend to fulfill their bet when they lured you to Crimson Orchid City. Instead, they wanted to use that monster to get rid of you. For that, they wouldn't hesitate to sacrifice millions of lives in Crimson Orchid City. Lu Yin shook his head. Longxi frowned and muttered, human nature. Lu Yin's expression changed. Longxi continued, anyone who defected to those monsters is inhumane, especially the redbacks. Did you think that you could take the initiative just because you knew that the 3 Guan brothers were redbacks? You're wrong. They're inhumane and will do anything to achieve their goals. One wrong step and you'll never be able to make a comeback. Even if your information is true, you could still fall into their trap and die without a grave. Not to mention, there's no way to verify the authenticity of the information. If that information came from Yu Qin, then all your schemes would have been for naught. Not only would you lose your reputation, but you would also lose your life. I'm only saying this in hopes that you won't act recklessly in the future. Your words and actions don't just represent yourself but also me. Remember, I'm your wife. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow I'll always be your wife. Lu Yin nodded. I understand. Longxi had completely vented her frustrations. Seeing Lu Yin nod his head honestly, she should choose to believe him, but for some reason the more honest he was, the more uneasy she felt. No, she had to retire immediately. She was most worried about that unknown source of information. What was their goal? Was it purely to help Draconic 7? How was that possible? Long 7 was just a branch of the White Dragon clan. Who would be willing to help him in the White Dragon clan? Why didn't they contact her or Long Tian directly? That unknown source of information was what made her most uneasy. Long 7, I'll say this one last time. Stay at the headquarters in the Yin Mountain region and don't go anywhere. Remember, even if Zhou Xian gives the order, you're not allowed to leave. You've made enough contributions to retire, and my brother has already contacted the 9 Gate Deans. Wait until you retire and Elder Long Kue comes to pick you up. Lu Yin was stunned. Elder Long Kue is already here? Longxi's eyes narrowed. He's on the way and will be here soon. No matter what, you're not allowed to leave until Elder Long Kue shows up. Lu Yin was speechless. It seemed like this girl was scared out of her wits to send Elder Long Kue. Even if he hadn't retired, she would probably have Elder Long Kue keep watch outside and not allow him to leave the headquarters. Why didn't she trust him? What did she just say? Long Tian had already contacted Xianxia? Lu Yin felt a little guilty. Ahem, my stomach hurts. That's all for now. Let's wait for Elder Long Kue to come. Don't contact me for now, I'm tired. Longxi looked at Lu Yin and felt that something was off, but when she saw how obedient he was, she knew that something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Stay here obediently. If you dare leave again, I'll make you suffer when we return to Dragon Mountain. Yes. Lu Yin just wanted to end the call as soon as possible. Longxi snorted and the image disappeared. Lu Yin heaved a sigh of relief and wanted to throw the Cloud Connect stone away. He didn't know why, but he was a little afraid of seeing Longxi. While Lu Yin and Longxi were talking, Long Tian contacted the 9 Gates Superintendent Xianxia. Looking at Xianxia's helpless expression, Long Tian was at a loss. What does he mean by serving the poor and not asking for battle achievements? He just wants to do what he can for his fellow clansmen and fight against the enemies from outside? What does he mean by risking his life? Did Long 7 say all of this? Xianxia nodded and praised. The White Dragon tribe is indeed one of the 4 scales. For the sake of humanity, a random branch clan member is willing to sacrifice themselves. I'm impressed. Long Tian was stunned. Senior Long 7 is just a hunter. How can he do anything? Is there a misunderstanding? Qing Chen sternly replied, You're underestimating Long 7. He was able to expose the 3 Guan brothers as redbacks. This clansman of yours has great foresight, courage. Even more commendable, he's willing to sacrifice his entire life for humanity. He's worthy of respect and admiration. He's only joined the poor for 2 months, but his battle achievements have already surpassed those of the Shu Plains seniors. Long Tian suddenly interrupted, That's what I think. There's no need to say more. I'm well aware that he'll be rewarded handsomely. I've already reported this to the governor and he's very happy. He's even ordered Long 7 to join the 14th gate. A talent like him shouldn't be limited to a single region. What do you think? Qing Chen asked. Long Tian was shocked. The 14th gate? Qing Chen nodded. This is the governor's wish. This child, Long 7, has an innate ability to see through people, and he's very suitable for the 14th gate. He'll patrol the astral tree domain on behalf of the governor. Good my ass. What kind of innate ability is that? Even with Long Tian's self-restraint, he almost cursed out loud. It was someone else who had told him about Long 7, and that was why he had been so anxious to take him away. He hadn't expected this old man to do something like this. The 14th gate wasn't like the Yinshan district or the Huaiyuan district. Once someone joined, it would be difficult for them to leave unless they failed to complete their mission and were expelled. That would be too embarrassing. Even with Long Tian's status as the White Dragon clan's young ancestor, it was impossible for him to get Long 7 to leave the 14th gate. This was troublesome. This was really troublesome. He was one step too late. Senior Long 7 has already joined the 14th gate? Can't be that fast. Long Tian didn't believe him. Qing Chen replied, He's already joined. Why would I lie to you? Long Tian knew that Qing Chen wouldn't lie to him about something like this, so he was irritated. Senior, since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Qing Chen nodded. After Long Tian's image disappeared, Qing Chen's lips curled up. He didn't care how Long 7 had exposed the Guan brothers, nor did he care about the source of the information. As someone from a humble family, all he wanted to do was capture the spy and redback. They only cared about the human race and they didn't care about the frigid Immortal sect or the White Dragon clan. Based on Long 7's current performance, he was qualified to join the 14th gate, and he was also suitable for it. That was enough. At the same time, Qing Chen admired Long 7 from the bottom of his heart. Long 7 had dared to fight back against the Huaiyuan Humble School's sect master and the frigid Immortal sect's scheme. He was bold and careful and Qing Chen liked him very much. Joining the 14th gate would be another form of protection. The governor cared most about the people in the 14th gate and anyone who dared to touch them would die. As long as Long 7 had the ability to stay in the 14th gate, then he would have the governor's protection. Even the frigid Immortal sect wouldn't be able to touch him. This was also a bit of Qing Chen's selfishness. It could also be considered a reward for Long 7. Being retired and living a peaceful life of mediocrity was better than being dead. Kid, I hope you don't disappoint me, Qing Chen muttered to himself. At the headquarters in the Yin Mountain district, Lu Yin's inkstone vibrated and he glanced at it. It wasn't Long Shi. He accepted the call and a line of words appeared. Yin Mountain District's humble school captain, Long 7, will join the 14th gate from today onwards. Every year you will be assigned 10 spies to patrol the astral trees and ensure the prosperity of the human race. From today onwards head to the Sword Steel to take a look. The mission will be issued soon. 14th Gate Sect Master, Owl. Chapter 1386. Lu Yin's eyes widened. The 14th Gate? He had heard of it before. The current humble school was divided into 9 gates in the middle realm and 4 in the top realm, making a total of 13 gates. Outside of these 13 gates, there was a mysterious 14th gate. It wasn't stationed in one place, but rather patrolled the entire astral tree. The number of spies and redbacks they captured every year was comparable to the total number of the other 13 gates. It was the most elite and secretive gate of the humble school. He had never expected to join the 14th gate. Joining the 14th gate meant that the mission would be difficult. At least 10 spies had to be handed in every year. It was said that the 14th gate captured more than 10,000 spies each year, but no one knew if that was true or not. However, despite the difficulty of the mission, the 14th gate had the authority to capture and interrogate anyone in the astral tree. This authority came from the governor of the humble school, the ancestor who had founded the humble school. Joining the 14th gate meant that he had the support of the ancestor and was a disciple of the ancestor. He didn't have to worry about the frigid immortal sex schemes. Lu Yin hadn't expected to join the 14th gate. It seemed like his true identity couldn't be exposed either. Just as he was thinking about it, the stone shook again. Lu Yin glanced at it and gulped. Longxi. He pondered for a moment. To accept or not to accept? That was the question. The stone shook for a long time, but Longxi showed no signs of giving up. Lu Yin felt as if he could see Longxi's furious face through the cloud-light stone. No, I can't accept it. I definitely can't accept it. He's angry right now. He took off the stone and tossed it aside, leaving it to shake. An entire night passed and the cloud pass stone didn't vibrate as frequently, but it would still vibrate once in a while. The next morning, Lu Yin estimated that Longxi's anger was about to die down. As the stone shook, Lu Yin accepted the call. Longxi's image appeared. Lu Yin stared at it and blinked, seeming quite calm. Longxi looked at him quietly. How many things have you not told me? Lu Yin was confused. What things? Longxi said word by word. I asked you about how to capture the spy in Yin Mountain City. You hid the bet between me and the 3 Guan brothers. I asked you about the bet. You hid what I told the 9-gate superintendent. Now I'm asking you about what you told the 9-gate superintendent. Tell me, is there anything else you're hiding from me? Lu Yin gulped. That should be it. No, I'm not hiding anything. I just didn't have the time to tell you. Speak. Longxi shouted and glared at Lu Yin. Lu Yin coughed. Well, I've been assigned to the 14th Humble School and I'm heading to the Sword Steel right now. Apparently there's a reward for viewing the Sword Steel. Longxi closed her eyes helplessly. She had indeed entered the 14th gate. Her brother Long Tian had told her, but she didn't believe him. She didn't expect it to be true. Actually, joining the 14th gate would guarantee Lu Yin's safety. However, the 14th gate was not the Yin Mountain region and it was not a place for people to gain experience. She knew very well how Lu Yin had captured spies and how he knew that the 3 Guan brothers were redbacks. Everything came from unknown sources. Once that information disappeared, how could he complete the mission given to him by the 14th gate? He would also be expelled and become a laughingstock. This was only a small problem. The 14th gate provided protection, but the price they had to pay was naturally much higher. Once they made a mistake, it would not be a small matter. Moreover, joining the 14th gate was a public matter. They would be exposed to the eyes of everyone and everything they did would be watched by countless people. Longxi's heart sank. From the moment Lu Yin had joined the 14th gate, the best outcome she could think of was that he would be expelled and become a laughingstock. The White Dragon clan would also become a laughingstock, but that was only the best outcome. Do you know anything about the Sword Steel? Longxi didn't know what else to say. She was filled with regret. She should not have allowed Lu Yin to come to the Yin Mountain region. She should have locked him up in White Mountain and not allowed him to go anywhere. However, it was too late. Everything that Lu Yin had done was due to that unknown information. Who was the one behind all of this? Lu Yin shook his head honestly. I've only heard about it from Elder Long Kue, but I don't know the details. When he had first met Zhang Dingtian after leaving the mortal world, Long Kue had told him about the Sword Steel and the legendary ancient ancestor Wu Tian. Longxi looked at him indifferently. You don't need to know too much about those legends as there are no historical records to prove them. All you need to know is that when facing the Sword Steel, everyone has a chance to obtain some inheritance from it. However, that's only in theory. The Lu family has been here for so many years, and only a few have obtained the inheritance. However, because there are so many people who view the Sword Steel, there are so many inheritances added together. Not many others can view the Sword Steel. Even in the 4-way scale, there aren't many who can view the Sword Steel. One of the rewards for the humble 14th gate is to view the Sword Steel. This was something that the governor of the humble school fought for from the Lu family, and it's also one of the reasons why the 14th gate is so attractive. It's a great opportunity for you to view the Sword Steel. It's best if you can obtain the inheritance, but don't worry about it if you can't. Have you been there before? Lu Yin asked. Long Shi looked up. Not at the moment. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Not at the moment? That meant that she could go, but she hadn't yet. Long Tian had used Long Shi to accompany him to the ruler realm to help him, so he must have hoped that Long Shi could become stronger and help him better. Perhaps this was one of the ways. The Lu family doesn't care much about the four-way scale, and they're even a little hostile. I'll ask Elder Long Kue to escort you to the sword steel, and you'll leave immediately after viewing it. I'll think of a way to get you to Upper Dragon Mountain. During this time, even if the 14th gate gives you a mission, don't act rashly. Discuss everything with Elder Long Kue. Got it? Lu Yin nodded. Got it. He acted very obediently. The more Long Shi looked at Lu Yin, the more nervous she became. After ending the call, she immediately contacted Elder Long Kue and urged him to go to the Yin Mountain district as soon as possible. She was afraid of Lu Yin. He looked honest, but he was more restless than anyone else. Lu Yin sat on the back of a chariot while Elder Long Kue sat in front of him. 2 days ago, Elder Long Kue had arrived at the Yin Mountain district and taken Lu Yin away without a word. Zhou Xian seemed to know something, but he didn't ask any questions. In just 2 short months, Lu Yin's arrival had turned the Yin Mountain district upside down. Mo Gaoha had been expelled and the White Fatty had returned to the Wang family. The entire Yin Mountain district had calmed down, and the humble Huayuan school had been thrown into chaos. On the surface it seemed like Lu Yin was the biggest winner, but he was also the one who was the most nervous. Elder Long Kue's expression was calm as he led Lu Yin in a certain direction. He didn't say a word during these 2 days, and Lu Yin didn't dare to talk to him either. When Lu Yin had ridden a chariot from White Mountain to the Bifrost Bridge, he had seen the vastness of the central realm, but he hadn't been able to see it clearly. The chariot was too fast and it was much slower this time. Lu Yin saw many regions of the central realm and saw many battles. Wherever there were people there would be conflict, and war was very common. However, in the Astral Tree district in the central realm, the battles were even more exaggerated than the Fifth Mainland's interstellar wars. There were very few enlighters in the Fifth Mainland's outerverse, and on average each weave didn't even have one. In the innerverse there were very few powerhouses with power levels over 300,000, and even in the neoverse, there were very few with power levels over 400,000. Here, Lu Yin saw that almost all of the battles involved enlighters, and there were even quite a few with power levels of 300,000 to 400,000. Fortunately, this region of space was extremely stable, and even Lu Yin couldn't tear it apart. Otherwise, the ground would have been destroyed. The chariot's appearance caused many battles to stop, and it also attracted the attention of several powerhouses with power levels above the envoys, which made Lu Yin's scalp go numb. As they flew, the chariot suddenly stopped and looked into the distance. Its 2 large heads leaned against each other and it seemed to be on guard. Elder Long Kue looked at a certain spot in the void with a calm expression. Lu Yin felt that something was amiss, and after thinking about it he took out some Longhu spring water from his cosmic ring and dripped it into his eyes. When he opened them again he saw that the void had changed. He saw a dusky void filled with countless microscopic life forms. This was the real universe, and he saw a man looking at him from afar with a fierce gaze. When their eyes met, the man was flabbergasted. Lu Yin hurriedly lowered his head. It was an emissary, and this was the real universe where emissaries fought. At this moment the man stepped out of the void and looked at the chariot, Long Kue and Lu Yin. Long Kue calmly looked at the man. Move aside. The chariot let out a timely roar filled with warning. The man's expression changed and he immediately moved aside. He had just become an emissary, so how could he dare to fight against Long Kue? He couldn't even defeat the chariot. To be able to control an envoy-level mount, it was obvious that the chariot had an extremely powerful background. Long Kue didn't care about the man, and the chariot let out a roar at him before proudly flying past him. The man looked at Lu Yin in bewilderment. This person was clearly just a hunter, so how could they meet each other's gaze? Was it just an illusion? Just as the chariot passed by the man, Long Kue suddenly turned to look at the sky. The chariot stopped and looked at the sky as well, looking in the exact same direction as Long Kue. Lu Yin hurriedly looked over as well. A strange pattern appeared in the sky, and when the man saw it he was shocked. No, I don't want to go to the Star Alliance. I won't go. He then took a step forward and disappeared into the void. There was a 1-minute time limit for the spring water, And it just so happened that the time limit was not up yet. Lu Yin could still see the real universe and the man's escape. He even saw a large hand descend from the void and drag the man into the pattern. In an instant the pattern disappeared. Lu Yin was stunned. What the hell? Let's go, Long Kue calmly instructed. The chariot then flew off into the distance at an unprecedented speed as if it was afraid. Lu Yin was curious. Elder, what did that person just say about the Star Alliance? What does that mean? He hadn't seen any introduction to the Star Alliance from Guan Yun's memories. Guan Yun had lived for so many years and his memories were as vast as the ocean. Lu Yin had only seen a very small portion of them, and if he hadn't specifically searched for them, he wouldn't have been able to see the memories of Crimson Orchid City from the Yinshan district headquarters. Chapter 1387. Long Kue replied, "You'll know when it's time, but you won't need to know for the rest of your life." Lu Yin was speechless. Obviously this old man looked down on him. "I told you to keep your distance from Zhou Xian," Long Kue continued. Lu Yin finally understood. No wonder this old man's attitude had been so bad this time. "I'm not close to sect leader Zhou. Why is he willing to help you hide the fact that you're not in Crimson Orchid City? Zhou Xian is lazy and doesn't want to meddle in other people's affairs, but he's willing to help you. You must have a special relationship with him," Long Kue said confidently. Lu Yin was helpless. "I'm really not that close to him. I've only seen him a few times at the headquarters. Maybe he wants to gain some merit." Long Kue sneered. "He wouldn't want to gain any merit," he said no more. Lu Yin didn't say anything else to Long Kue. Since Long Kue didn't like him, he wouldn't try to worm his way into being friends with him. In any case, Long Kue would do his best to protect him and not let anything happen to him. A few days passed and one day night and day alternated. A giant stone tablet caught Lu Yin's eye and attracted his attention. It was a very ordinary stone tablet, but the moment Lu Yin laid eyes on it, he felt as if the flow of time had slowed down for some reason. It was as if he could see the ancient past and hear the whispers of his ancestors. This stone tablet was like a landmark of time, guiding the past, present, and future. "We've arrived at the sword tablet," Long Kue said as he looked into the distance. His gaze was complicated, but there was also a burning passion. All the cultivators in the astral tree domain hoped to view the sword tablet and obtain an ancient inheritance. This was clearly a great opportunity, but unfortunately, not many people could obtain it because of the Lu family. When Lu Yin saw the sword tablet, his cloud vision stone vibrated and a line of words appeared. Mission target: Lu Ku suspected spy. Capture. Lu Yin was shocked and looked around. He had only just seen the sword tablet, but the 14th door was already known? And the mission had been given directly. Lu Ku, a member of the Lu family. So this wasn't just a reward but also a mission. No wonder the reward was so good. Lu Yin was lost in thought. He had a good habit of considering everything carefully, and this had solved many hidden dangers. This time was no different. The sword viewing steel was an opportunity that everyone in the Starry Sky Tree wanted to obtain. Ningqing did not believe that the 14th gate would have such an opportunity. Even if the humble sects had an old ancestor behind them and the four-way scales also had an old ancestor behind them, he did not see the people from the four-way scales frequently obtaining such an opportunity. Such a good opportunity was given to someone who had just joined the 14th gate, and it also involved the conflict between the White Dragon tribe and the Cold Immortal sect. Something was not right. Even if it was a reward for exposing the three Guan brothers as redbacks, he still felt that something was wrong. Either the leader of the 14th gate was biased towards the White Dragon race and was helping him on purpose, or no one from the 14th gate was willing to do this mission. If it was the latter, then it would be troublesome. He would rather lose such a good opportunity than capture Lu Ku. Clearly it was not that easy. The possibility of failure was very high. As Lu Yin pondered this, the flying mounts around him were overtaken from time to time. Many people on the ground were heading in the same direction, and even more people were kneeling on the ground and muttering something to the sword steel. The Lu family is huge and they control a region. They're second only to the four directions scale. When viewing the sword steel, you have to be sincere and not be rude. "Don't make the Lu family dislike you," reminded Long Kue. Lu Yin nodded, but he felt a headache coming on. Not make the Lu family dislike him? How could that be? The mission for the 14th gate was right here, and if he did not complete it, he did not know what would happen to him. If he was expelled as soon as he joined the 14th gate, That would be too embarrassing. Wait, could this be Yu Chen's scheme? Was she working with the 14th Gate's leader to set him up? No, that shouldn't be the case. The 9 Gates supervisor, Xianxia, had specially arranged for Lu Yin to join the 14th Gate, so she must have considered all of this. How could Yu Chen have the power to interfere with the 14th Gate? Outsiders were not allowed to enter a certain area around the Sword Steel. Only those with the Lu family's permission were allowed to visit it. Visiting the Sword Steel was not like viewing the steel, as one had to be within 10 meters of the steel. Without the Lu family's permission, no one is allowed to enter, and I am no exception. You can only go in by yourself, Long Kue said. Tian Ho's size had long since attracted the attention of the Lu family, and a powerful aura swept past from time to time. Even Lu Yin could feel it. There was more than one emissary here, and he was certain that there was a terrifying expert at the location of the Sword Steel. The Tian Ho soared through the air and stopped. Lu Yin landed alone and smashed into the ground. Behind him was a long line that stretched endlessly. Countless people were lining up to enter the Sword Steel. Who are you? A voice rang out beside Lu Yin's ear. Lu Yin bowed in the direction of the Sword Steel. Junior Long Qi has been ordered to view the Sword Steel. The voice paused for a moment and then it said, wait. His tone was not very pleasant. Lu Yin frowned as his suspicions were confirmed. The reward this time was accompanied by a mission that would not be easy to complete. Regardless, he had to view the Sword Steel first. Countless people lined up in front of the Sword Steel, but he still could not see the base of the Sword Steel from where he was standing, as there was still quite a distance between him and the steel. There were cultivators patrolling the area from time to time, and Lu Yin saw more than one in lighter. Even further away there were mountains, rivers, cities and plains. Lu Yin focused his gaze and looked around. The area around the Sword Steel did not seem to be suitable for living. The environment was very ordinary and it could even be considered harsh. The city in the distance had been abandoned, so where did the Lu family live? There were clearly so many people, but the atmosphere was strangely quiet. It was as if no one was willing to speak, or was it that they did not dare to speak? Were they that pious? As he looked back at the Sword Steel, Lu Yin thought of the stone steel in the Daoist clan's ancestral land. These things were usually the spiritual beliefs of every clan. Should he make one? It could increase one's strength, and it could also become a source of faith. After waiting for about 2 hours, a figure appeared in the distance. Are you Long Qi? Lu Yin turned around and was surprised. Zhang Dingtian? Zhang Dingtian sped over, and when he saw Lu Yin he smiled. Are you Long Qi? Lu Yin nodded and smiled back. I am Long Qi. May I ask who you are? I'm Zhang Dingtian. I've been ordered to bring Brother Long to view the Sword Steel. His words were overheard by quite a few people, and they all looked at Lu Yin enviously. Very few outsiders had the opportunity to view the Sword Steel, and even if they did, they had to pay a great price. Not to mention the 4 cardinal scales in the top realm, there were only a handful of outsiders in the middle realm who could view the Sword Steel in 100 years. Then I'll have to trouble Brother Zhang. Please. Please. The Lu family of the Middle Realm is one of the ruling families in the Middle Realm. They don't have many members, only a few tens of thousands, and they're all scattered around the base of the Sword Steel. Every day they wake up and sleep while viewing the Sword Steel, just like an ancient tribe. Thus, the further in you go, the more people you'll meet, Zhang Dingtian explained. Lu Yin listened quietly. Normal people can only view the Sword Steel within 100,000 kilometers of the base. Brother Long, can you see that line? Zhang Dingtian pointed at the ground in the distance, where a bottomless ravine separated the ground. That line separates the worshippers from the rest of the world. Only with permission can they enter the area within 50,000 kilometers of the pedestal, Zhang Dingtian said. Once we cross that line we can speak normally. Lu Yin retracted his gaze. Long time no see, Brother Zhang. Zhang Dingtian sighed. I didn't expect to see you here. I'll just call you Long Qi. If that character is your surname, then it'll be different in this area. Lu Yin was curious. Why? It's also a primeval surname. Zhang Dingtian shook his head. I'm not sure either. Anything that involves that surname involves the secrets of the 4-way scales. All I know is that surname can't be revealed. As for the reason, no one has told me. Lu Yin felt that it was a pity. Where's Bai Shui? He went to the top realm. She should be in the frigid Immortal sect, Zhang Dingtian said. Lu Yin sighed. I didn't expect Jupiter to be a passage. I thought that a group of isolated people lived there. Zhang Dingtian looked at Lu Yin. Compared to the human domain, this region of space is indeed isolated. But do you know what this region calls the universe that we used to live in? Lu Yin lowered his voice. The abandoned lands. Zhang Dingtian nodded. The abandoned lands. You, me, Bai Shui, and everyone else who entered Jupiter are considered illegal immigrants to this region of space. I don't know if those people from the primeval surname alliance have been discovered, but I didn't. Lu Yin replied, neither did I. I can see that. Long 7, the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline, you're involved in the struggle for the four-way scales. Wherever you go, it's not peaceful. Zhang Dingtian laughed. Lu Yin was speechless. What are your plans? Why did the Lu family accept you? Zhang Dingtian replied, I coincidentally saved someone from the Lu family and was accepted as a disciple by Grandmaster Brightblade. I've established myself in the Lu family. Aren't you a saber user? How did you become Grandmaster Brightblade's disciple? Sabers and swords are more or less the same. The difference is huge. Lu Yin was speechless. Compared to the fifth mainland, Zhang Dingnan was much more cheerful, as if he had let go of a burden. How's Earth? Zhang Dingtian asked. Lu Yin replied, pretty good. That's good. I won't be able to go back in this lifetime. Zhang Dingtian had a complicated expression as he looked up at the sword's steel. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. Not necessarily. Zhang Dingtian was shocked. You have a way to go back? Not right now, but I know someone who definitely has a way, Lu Yin said. He was naturally referring to Wang Yi. That guy had been able to participate in the fifth mainland sovereign tournament, so he naturally had a way to return. There were also those who had not seen the light of day. As they approached the sword's steel, Lu Yin and Zhang Dingtian chatted about many things along the way. Most of them were about the fifth mainland, and Zhang Dingtian was very interested in them. Speaking of which, you actually obtained the opportunity to view the sword's steel. Even in the White Dragon clan, there aren't many who can do that, Zhang Dingtian said. Speaking of which, Lu Yin was just about to ask, is the Lu family disgusted with the poor? Thank you, brothers, for your support. Chapter 1388. Zhang Dingtian shook his head. No, the humble ones have contributed greatly to humanity by capturing human spies. If they're disgusted, then they're traitors. Lu Yin was puzzled, as that voice had clearly sounded conflicted when he'd first arrived. It was definitely disgust. If we're talking about disgust, it's towards the humble 14th gate, Zhang Dingtian said. Lu Yin was stunned. The 14th gate? Zhang Dingtian nodded. Back then, the 14th gate took away a direct descendant of the Lu family. After interrogation, it was confirmed that he was innocent, but that descendant couldn't bear the humiliation and committed suicide. That's why the entire Lu family hates the 14th gate. Zhang Dingnan suddenly realized something and looked at Lu Yin in astonishment. You? Could it be? Lu Yin smiled bitterly. I'm from the 14th gate. Zhang Dingnan was speechless. No wonder you could view the sword's steels. So you weren't a member of the White Dragon clan. Do you think I'll succeed if I try to capture someone from the Lu family? Lu Yin asked. Zhang Dingtian replied without hesitation, that's impossible. Ever since that incident, the Lu clan announced to the public that anyone who suspects the Lu clan's disciples must be interrogated by the Lu clan themselves. Even those from humble families are not allowed to interfere. These words came from the Lu clan's ancestor. I'm talking about true progenitors, not seniority. Lu Yin's heart sank, as this was indeed troublesome. If the Lu family were to interrogate someone, then the humble ones might as well investigate in secret. The humble ones definitely wouldn't trust a family's interrogation. But then again, a dignified ancestor had actually said something like that. Even if a descendant had been wronged, they couldn't go back on their word. The humble ones also had an ancestor behind them, and they definitely couldn't compromise. This mission was a clear signal that the humble ones still wanted to capture someone from the Lu family, but capturing them was one thing and actually capturing them was another. It was no wonder why he'd been given such a great reward. What awaited him was the most difficult mission, and the slightest carelessness could cause the Lu family's ancestor to speak up. Just thinking about it made Lu Yin's scalp go numb. If he made a mistake, the 14th gate wouldn't push him out to take the blame, right? The 14th gate must have assigned him this mission because he was the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline. If he wanted to use the White Dragon clan and the Humble Ones to suppress the Lu family, then even if he successfully captured Lu Ku, the entire Lu family would be hostile towards him. It wasn't worth it. Even if we fail the mission, we can't mention capturing the Lu family. Brother Long, this is for your own good, Zhang Dingtian said. Not long after, a number of people blocked the path of the two. You are that Long Qi? How did you manage to hook up with the princess of the White Dragon race? Tell us so we can learn from you. Several people beside him laughed. Zhang Dingtian took a step forward. Lu Meng, step aside. Mr. Long has been invited to view the sword's steel. This is the clan's decision. The man called Lu Meng angrily yelled, Zhang Ding, who do you think you are? You're an outsider and you're a saber user at that. I've been wanting to teach you a lesson for a long time. After saying that, he raised his hand and a sword light flashed, stabbing towards Zhang Dingtian. Lu Yin's eyes lit up when he saw this person unsheath his sword. This person was a cruiser like Zhang Dingtian, and although he looked like a scoundrel, his sword technique was not weak at all, and it was comparable to the second sword of the 13 swords. As the sword left its scabbard, a domain enveloped the entire area, faintly changing the environment around it. This sword also had a special vibration that resonated with the other people's swords. Lu Yin had seen this scene from the 6th Mainland's War Martial Realm's tool wielder. This person was definitely not weak and his control of the sword had reached a certain level. Zhang Dingtian's eyes trembled and he gripped the hilt of his sword with his right hand. Blue veins covered his entire body, accompanied by purplish-red stripes. This was 8-line battle force. There was a soft thud and Lu Yin's eyes went wide. Half of the sword had been sent flying and stabbed into the ground. Only half of the sword remained in Lu Meng's hand, and blood dripped from the hilt and onto the ground. Lu Meng's right arm trembled and in the end he lost his grip on the hilt and dropped the sword. The surrounding people looked at Zhang Dingtian in shock. Zhang Dingtian slowly sheathed his sword, and his 8-lined battle force disappeared. Step aside. These 2 words woke Lu Meng up from his daze. He gritted his teeth and glared at Zhang Dingtian, his gaze filled with unwillingness. Zhang Dingtian met his gaze. In the end, Lu Meng stepped aside and Zhang Dingtian continued to lead Lu Yin towards the sword steel. After they left, Lu Meng's clenched right hand slowly unclenched. His right arm was still trembling and his palm had been completely shattered. He had been defeated in just one strike, and he hadn't even seen the sword leave its scabbard. Brother Meng, are you all right? Someone nearby asked. Lu Meng angrily shouted, Scram, you useless piece of trash. He then turned and left without even looking at the broken sword on the ground. The surrounding people did not dare to speak. When they saw Lu Meng leave, they all looked in the direction that Zhang Dingtian and Lu Yin had left in silence. On the other side, Lu Yin praised, Brother Zhang, your sword technique has improved again. That sword draw was so domineering. Zhang Dingtian replied, That's a sword technique from the sword steel. There are a total of 9 forms and I've only learned 3 of them. The sword draw is the beginning and it's also one of the forms. There's a sword technique in the sword steel? Lu Yin was curious. Zhang Dingtian smiled. The sword steel is just what the Lu family calls it. Not only is there a sword technique, but there are also palm techniques, spear techniques, and even cultivation techniques. It's said that someone even obtained a source box array from there. Anyway, there are all sorts of strange things. Lu Yin grew even more curious and he suddenly remembered what Long Kuei had said. The sword steel had been left behind by an ancient ancestor, the martial ancestor. The martial ancestor had invented a way to use weapons, and he had left the sword steel behind so that it could be passed down. No one could prove that the martial ancestor had truly existed, but this sword steel had witnessed the passage of time. If Lu Yin could find the sword steel's origin, he might be able to find some clues about the ancient era. Half a day later, Zhang Dingtian led Lu Yin to the sword steel. The Lu family lived here and just as Zhang Dingtian had said, it was like a tribe without any extravagance. It was the complete opposite of the White Dragon clan and it looked more like a village. Every ordinary house was occupied by a member of the Lu family, and although it looked like a village, it contained a terrifying sword qi that made Lu Yin's heart pound. With a casual glance, Lu Yin could see experts everywhere. It was no wonder why Long Kuei hadn't dared to trespass without permission. It was easy to die here. This kind of family was the most troublesome as they were too united. It was no wonder that the 14th gate wanted to capture Lu Ku and give Lu Yin such a great opportunity. The villages were arranged around the sword steel, and the closer one got to the sword steel, the sparser the villages became. The Lu family's cultivators sat cross-legged on the ground and stared at the sword steel. This was where the Lu family cultivated. Every member of the Lu family has 3 chances to view the sword steel in their lifetime. Usually they do so when they're still young and ignorant. They use the sword steel to open their heart and find the most suitable cultivation path for themselves. Unfortunately, very few are able to obtain the sword steel's inheritance. The second time is when they reach adulthood, and they hope to obtain the inheritance from the sword steel. Similarly, very few succeed. The third time is up to them. Some are unwilling to accept the fact that they don't obtain the inheritance, so they view the sword steel twice in a row. Others leave the opportunity for old age, hoping to take the opportunity to advance once more. Zhang Dingtian looked at Lu Yin. No matter who it is, the chances of obtaining the inheritance are extremely low. Good luck, Brother Long, Lu Yin nodded and continued forward. To view the sword steel, one had to be within 10 meters of it, and there was still some distance between them. The Lu family's population was definitely smaller than that of the other large families, but it wasn't considered small either. Along the way, Lu Yin saw many young members of the Lu family, and all of them were quite strong. Suddenly, Lu Yin's gaze turned sluggish, and he looked at a woman who was sitting cross-legged 1,000 meters to his right. Lu Tianmu? Zhang Dingtian followed Lu Yin's gaze and said apprehensively, "That woman arrived a month ago. Her surname is also Lu, but she's not a direct descendant of the Lu family. There are many people in this region with the surname Lu, and she's already a distant branch family member. However, her talent in the way of the sword is extremely high, and she's attracted the attention of the entire Lu family. I'm definitely not her match right now." Nonsense, Lu Yin thought to himself. This is Lu Tianmu, one of the 10 arbiters. If he could catch up to her so easily, he wouldn't be one of the 10 arbiters. Zhang Dingtian's current strength surpassed Lu Xiaoqiu's at most, and he would be ranked at the top of the sword sect. However, he definitely couldn't catch up to Lu Tianmu. Zhang Dingtian didn't know who Lu Tianmu was, as the names of the 10 arbiters were kept secret. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so emotional. Lu Yin guessed that Lu Tianmu hadn't revealed too much of her strength, and neither had the 13 swords. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as simple as attracting attention. Her strength was enough to challenge an expert at Wang Yi's level, and she was definitely at the top of her generation in the Lu family. When Lu Yin saw Lu Tianmu, she seemed to sense something and looked at him as well. Then she was stunned. Meng Guang had the same expression when she saw Lu Yin, just like Yuhua Mavis. On the other side, it was Lu Tianmu's turn. Even though she had an apathetic personality and was as calm as still water, she was just as stunned when she saw Lu Yin beneath the sword steel. Lu Yin smiled at her, but he didn't say anything as he continued walking towards the sword steel. Lu Tianmu stared at Lu Yin's departing figure, and her mind was thrown into chaos. Why is he here? Zhang Dingtian had personally welcomed him, which meant that he had a high status. What was going on? The Lu family's protection of the sword steel wasn't as strict as the Daoist clan's protection of their ancestral land's stone steel. There were still a few elders beneath the steel, and they looked like living fossils guarding it. However, there wasn't anyone here, and there were only a few youths scattered around looking at the sword steel. "Brother Long, you'll have a chance to obtain the inheritance once you're within 10 meters of the sword steel. Please enter," Zhang Dingtian said. Lu Yin looked at the sword steel that towered into the clouds and took a deep breath before slowly bowing. "This junior has obtained this opportunity to view the sword steel and honor our ancestors' glory. If I've offended you in any way, please forgive me." He then bowed deeply with a sincere expression on his face. Zhang Dingtian stepped back and watched quietly. Many of the Lu family's experts who were observing Lu Yin relaxed a little. They didn't have a good impression of the 14th gate, but Lu Yin's actions were a sign of respect for the Lu family. That sincere expression on his face couldn't be faked, and this kid wasn't bad. Lu Yin had to admit that he often acted, and his acting skills were much better than before. His expression of sincerity wasn't directed at the sword steel, but rather at the Mavis Bank. He was showing his sincerity to the endless resources that lay before him. Thanks to DCF Heavenly Calamities, Stargazing Disciple Book Friend 576587881 Mouse's monkey moving horizontally and vertically only by the wind. Thanks to my brothers for their support. I'll be releasing more chapters. Follow the wind. I'll be releasing more chapters every few days. Thanks for your support, brothers. I'll be releasing more chapters at 3 p.m. Chapter 1389. Anyone who had come to the Lu family to obtain an opportunity and capture a member of the Lu family would not end up too badly if they performed well at the beginning. After an entire incense stick's worth of time, Lu Yin stood up with a solemn expression. His eyes were filled with fanaticism and respect as he stepped forward and entered a 10-meter radius of the sword's steel. He looked up and observed the steel. In the distance, Long Kuei sat on his chariot's back, bobbing up and down. He saw Lu Yin observing the steel and retracted his gaze. He did not believe that Lu Yin would be able to obtain an opportunity. Throughout history, how many people had been able to obtain an inheritance from the sword steel? There were hundreds of thousands of people in the Lu family, and this was only the current generation. Since the start of guarding the steel, the Lu family had multiplied for countless generations. Countless geniuses had appeared, but how many had managed to obtain an inheritance? There was no need to even talk about outsiders. From what Long Kuei knew, even young ancestor Long Tian had not obtained an inheritance, so it was even more impossible for Long Qi to obtain one. No one thought that Lu Yin would be able to obtain an inheritance, and the members of the Lu family around the sword steel were all quietly cultivating. They did not care about Lu Yin at all as he was just there to go through the motions. Only Lu Tianmu walked over from behind and calmly watched from a distance. Others did not understand Lu Yin, but she did. This person's cultivation talent was rarely seen in the world, and he could also obtain opportunities that others could not even imagine. She always felt that Lu Yin would cause trouble wherever he went. Reality proved that Lu Tianmu's guess was correct. The sword steel was glowing. Zhang Dingtang was the first to see it and his eyes flickered. He had actually obtained an inheritance. Around him, the cultivators of the Lu family all stood up and stared at the sword steel in shock. At the same time, an elder walked out of the void and looked at Lu Yin with admiration. What a great fortune for the human race. Every person who could obtain an inheritance from the sword steel was enough to cause a commotion. The sword steel's glow could be seen from millions of kilometers away, and countless people knelt down and prayed. Long Kuei's mouth fell open in shock. He had actually obtained an inheritance? Damn it, even young ancestor Long Tian had not succeeded. Beneath the sword steel, Lu Yin saw a strange scene. He stood there motionless, but his thoughts seemed to be guided by the stone steel as he traversed the river of time. He saw a sword's edge slash out in a strange arc. He saw a saber light flash and cleave apart the starry sky. He saw a gaze from an endless distance obliterate the void. He saw someone shatter the past, present, and future with a single palm strike. He saw someone use a great array to lock down the starry sky in all directions. He saw countless battle techniques, but they were all fleeting glimpses. Finally, he saw a black scythe pierce through the void and land in front of him. He was very familiar with this black scythe. It was the same black scythe he had used when he was in the Reaper transformation state. It was like the blade of the Grim Reaper. With a single slash, Qin Wenyin killed Zui He. With another slash, he forced everyone to retreat. He did not expect to see the black scythe here again. Lu Yin was 100 meters away from Black Sickle. He wanted to get closer but he could not. He was only a consciousness and could not move. Suddenly, a pitch-black figure gradually took shape. He raised his hand and grabbed the black scythe. In an instant, ripples spread out, spreading far and wide. At the same time, ripples spread out from the sword steel in all directions. Many people from the Lu family looked up in shock. He actually caused a phenomenon from the sword steel. What kind of inheritance did he inherit? As soon as they finished speaking, the light from the sword steel suddenly turned pitch black, causing the entire world to darken. Only a flash of white light could be seen. It was as if someone had crossed over from ancient times and slashed out. This slash caused countless people to tremble in fear. This slash attracted many people's attention. It descended from the highest point of the starry sky tree. This slash shook the starry sky. As the slash passed, the pitch-black sky returned to normal. What was different from before was that many experts from the Lu family had appeared below the sword steel. At the very front was an old man with a stooped back. He stared at Lu Yin with a strange gaze. All of the Lu family's disciples stared at Lu Yin's back in shock. What kind of inheritance did this person inherit? How could it cause such a phenomenon? This phenomenon caused the world to change color. In the distance, Long Kuei sucked in a breath of cold air. He no longer looked at Lu Yin with disdain but with shock. This Long Qi must have inherited something incredible. The surroundings returned to normal. Only Lu Yin was still standing below the sword's steel, looking at it as if he had inherited something. This inheritance lasted for 3 days. During these 3 days, Lu Yin had watched the figure wielding the black scythe without repeating a single move. How many moves had he seen in these 3 days? He could not even count them. How could a weapon have so many moves? Lu Yin was dumbfounded. He had not learned anything at all. He could only recall those endless moves. It seemed like the sword steel was imparting something, but it also seemed like it was verifying something. The outside world was more and more shocked by Lu Yin. There was a time limit to receiving the sword steel's inheritance. Most people who were lucky enough to receive the sword steel's inheritance would wake up after being immersed for 2 days. For example, Zhang Dingtian had received the 9 moves of the blade, but he had been immersed for 2.5 days. The most outstanding descendant of the Lu family, Lu Hao, had only been immersed for 3.5 days. The most shocking person had been Bai Xiaohong, the junior ancestor of the frigid Immortal sect, who had been immersed for 4 days. He had also caused a phenomenon on the sword steel, but no one knew what he had inherited. Could this Long Qi surpass Bai Xiaohong? On the 4th day of Lu Yin's inheritance, the figure waving the black scythe finally stopped. Then a sword appeared. Lu Yin was stunned. There was a sword technique inheritance. He saw the figure brandishing his sword skill. Although it did not affect the outside world, Lu Yin had an inexplicable feeling that this sword skill was terrifying. However, he could not put his finger on it. Suddenly, the sword's edge broke. When Lu Yin saw this, a bolt of lightning flashed through his mind. The place where the sword's edge broke was exactly where the black scythe had brandished one of its moves. The broken gap overlapped with that position. Could this be a verification of the technique? As the tip of the sword broke, a long knife appeared in the figure's hand. He waved it again, but not long after, the sword broke. Then it was the spear, halberd, and shield. All the weapons that Lu Yin had seen and not seen before were broken. Even though the places where they broke were different, they overlapped with the black scythe's previous moves. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. In his mind, he divided the images of the black scythe and the weapons from before into 2. Then he verified the techniques. Every move matched, and in the end all the weapons were broken by the black scythe. At the end of the 4th day, everyone below the sword steel was silent. The stooped elder who stood at the front was full of admiration. The fortune of mankind, the fortune of our ancestors. The 5th day began. On this day the figure brandished the black scythe once again. This time Lu Yin could see it clearly. He stared intently at the black scythe as it danced, and he saw every move and stance clearly. The complicated moves were gradually simplified, and as time passed, the 5th day finally ended. There weren't many simplified moves left. Lu Yin had completely forgotten about those moves. He only had eyes for the black scythe. Below the sword steel, the stooped elder was shocked for the first time. 5 days. Lu Yin had surpassed 5 days. This record was a new record in the recent history of the sword steel. In recent times, the only person who had reached 5 days was a stunning girl, but Lu Yin had surpassed her. The Lu family's shock was indescribable. They had seen too many geniuses fail at the sword steel, and they had also seen many geniuses receive inheritances. They would not have been surprised by anything, but on this day they were witnessing history. In the distance, Long Kuei's mouth was wide open as he stared at the sword steel in a daze. He looked at the seemingly weak and useless youth, and he knew that from this moment on, this youth would officially enter the eyes of those at the peak of the cosmic tree realm. This was because he had obtained an achievement that surpassed that woman's. That woman was practically in control of the cosmic tree realm, and even the junior ancestor looked up to her. Below the sword steel, a youth arrived. He walked past Lu Tianmu and Zhang Dingtian to stand behind the stooped elder and quietly stare at Lu Yin's back. He was thin and had an ordinary face, but his eyes were terrifyingly persistent. His entire being exuded a cold aura, and even though he leaned towards gloominess, the sword at his waist gave off a heavy aura that completely changed his temperament. He was called Lu Hao and he was the most outstanding descendant of the Lu family. He had become an enlighter and dared to challenge the junior ancestor. The four sides of the scale represented the junior ancestor. The Sword Steel's Lu family, the Seed Garden's farmer family, and a few others were not afraid of the junior ancestor, and they all wanted to challenge him one day, even though they had all failed the origin wheel ceremony. Lu Hao looked at Lu Yin's back and although he appeared calm he was actually just as shocked. Otherwise he would not have walked out. He had set his sights on the top of his head and had only targeted those four people. Now he had been lured out by someone who had called the White Dragon clan's main bloodline's son-in-law trash. Was this person really trash? What a joke. How could a piece of trash trigger the Sword Steel's inheritance for so many days? He had even surpassed that woman. Lu Hao gripped his sword tightly and looked at Lu Yin with an intense desire to battle. He was curious as to what this person had obtained from the Sword Steel. On the sixth day Lu Yin finally opened his eyes. The Sword Steel had regained its calm and there were no longer any abnormalities. Lu Yin's body swayed and he almost fell to the ground, but he was lifted up by a gentle force. He turned around and saw many people, but the one closest to him was an old man who had experienced many vicissitudes of life. Lu Yin knew that the older these people were, the more unfathomable they were. He quickly bowed and said, "Junior Long 7 greets Senior." The stooped old man sized Lu Yin up and smiled. "How do you feel, kid?" Lu Yin replied, "Dizzy." "Ah." The old man laughed. "Looks like you've received an incredible inheritance." "Hey Long 7, what kind of inheritance did you receive? Try it out." Someone shouted from afar. "Yeah, try it out. Could it be that you didn't learn it? That's too bad. It's been 6 days so there's no way you didn't learn it. Try it out." The stooped old man turned around with a sharp gaze. Silence. No one else dared to utter another word. However, a man stepped forward. He was young but he had already reached the hunter realm. "Elder Song, a junior would like to exchange a few moves with Brother Long Qi. We're both hunters so it's not considered bullying him. Elder Song, please allow it." The stooped old man looked at Lu Yin. "Kid, are you willing? Thank you for your support, brothers." Chapter 1390. Lu Yin glanced at Zhang Dingtian and then at Lu Tianmu. He nodded. "I did receive some inheritance and it's a good opportunity to test it out. If he wanted to go to the ruler's realm he would have to reveal his strength. Otherwise, no one would be willing to entrust such an opportunity to a piece of trash." Even though Lu Yin was a hunter and had a powerful body he was still trash compared to people like Long Shi and Long Tian. He wanted to gain the attention of the junior ancestor before he went to the ruler's realm so that he could go there. He would not give up on such an opportunity even if it was a bit risky. This Sword Steel's inheritance gave him a good excuse to improve his strength by leaps and bounds. Hearing that he was going to test out the Sword Steel's inheritance, the surrounding people grew interested and gathered around. Not too far away from the Sword Steel, Lu Yin and the man from the Lu family stood facing each other. Lu family Lu Lu. White Dragon clan Long Qi. Lu Lu stared at Lu Yin and slowly lowered his right hand onto his sword hilt. "Be careful, Brother Long. Although I didn't receive the Sword Steel's inheritance, I've learned the Heart Flame sword intent from the steel. One strike is enough to ignite a life form's heart flame and it can kill." Lu Yin looked at Lu Lu. This person was not trying to threaten him, nor was he trying to intimidate him. His gaze was resolute, and Lu Yin had seen such a gaze from Lu Xiaoqiu, Zhang Dingtian and many others. This kind of person was pure and only wanted to pursue a certain extreme. Of course he did not know how to control his strength. "Please," Lu Yin said. Lu Lu's eyes widened and he flicked the sword hilt with his thumb before grabbing it with his hand. His body suddenly vanished as he charged towards Lu Yin. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. This person was using sword qi to cut through the air and increase his speed. It was a good method but unfortunately this speed was useless against Lu Yin. There was a soft whoosh as Lu Lu's sword tore through the air and headed straight for Lu Yin's shoulder. In the distance Long Kuei saw this and frowned, but he did not intervene. This was the Lu family and he had no right to interfere. Many members of the Lu family widened their eyes. They had more or less heard about Long Qi. They didn't believe that Long Qi could go against Lu Lu, but they didn't want Lu Lu to hurt him too much. The Lu family hated the square scale but they didn't want to have a conflict. Just as the sword was about to reach him, he moved his hand and unleashed his emptiness palm. This was the first time he had descended upon the astral tree realm, and this was the first time he had shown his might. His palm shattered the sword and struck Lulu's chest, sending him flying backwards and coughing up blood. The crowd fell silent. Most of them couldn't see what Lu Yin had done and only a few understood. What a fast palm. Lulu can't even see the palm print. This is the battle skill inherited from the sword steel? So powerful. Behind the stooped elder, Lu Hao's eyes lit up. This was a pretty good palm technique, and as he increased the amount of overlaying stacks, its power would increase as well. However, it was still too weak and it would still be considered invincible against hunters at the same realm. Lu was defeated by a single palm strike and was severely injured. Lu Yin hurriedly said, "Sorry, it's my first time using it, so I can't control my strength." Many members of the Lu family were eager to challenge Lu Yin, but Lu was second only to Lu Hao in this generation. If even he had been defeated by a single palm strike, then there was no need to mention them. Lulu's skills are inferior, so it's not your fault. Lu Hao walked forward and walked to Lulu's previous position. "How about I play with you?" Lu Hao. Lu Yin went on guard when he saw Lu Hao. This person was an enlighter, and if he could step forward, then he must be someone from the same generation. At the very least, he had to be in the top 10 of the sovereign competition, which would be troublesome. Lu Tianmu's brows rose when she saw Lu Hao walk forward. Ever since she had arrived at the sword steel, she had been concealing her strength and hadn't fully revealed it. Even so, she had already attracted attention and many people had compared her to Lu Hao. She had a vague impression of Lu Hao, but she wasn't sure about the specifics. She placed Lu Hao at the level of Wang Yi or even a supreme clear. She wanted to use Lu Yin to test his strength. Lu Hao was an iconic figure of the sword steel's Lu family, and when he took action, everyone from the Lu family was excited. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. "I've long since heard that Brother Lu is a top figure in our generation. I've only just received an inheritance, so how can I fight against Brother Lu? Please don't make things difficult for me." Lu Hao calmly replied, "It's just a spar and I won't hurt you at all. If you can injure me, then it'll be my loss." Lu Yin was put in a difficult position. In the distance, the stooped elder Song smiled. "Kid, don't be afraid. I guarantee that you won't get hurt." Lu Yin gritted his teeth. "This is an order from an elder and I dare not refuse it. All right, Brother Lu, I won't be polite." He then struck out with an empty palm strike without hesitation. The emptiness palm was an invisible palm print that was extremely fast. Coupled with the fact that Lu Yin had caught him off guard, Lu Hao was directly struck by the palm. Fortunately, Lu Yin had not used all of his 250 stacks. He had only used 150 stacks, which he had revealed to Long Shi, and its power was about the same as when he had fought Lan Si for the first time. Even though it had the destructive power of a 10 arbiters, it was not too strong for an enlighter like Lu Hao. Lu Hao was forced back several steps by the palm strike. He twisted his body and casually picked up a blade of grass from the ground. Using the grass as a sword, he exerted force with his right foot and disappeared before reappearing behind Lu Yin. Using grass as a substitute for a sword in a spar between peers was somewhat insulting, but with Lu Hao's reputation and status, he was qualified to do so. There were only a few people who could make him draw his sword. Even though Lu Hao had used grass as a substitute for a sword, the swordsmanship that Lu Hao had displayed made Lu Yin's scalp go numb. He could clearly feel the boundless sword intent enveloping him. Even though it was just a blade of grass, it felt like the sharpest sword in the world. In the distance, Lu Tianmu's eyes narrowed. She could also use this swordsmanship, and the 10th sword of the 13 swords could reach such a level of sword intent. However, she had to rely on a real sword and coordinate it with the 13 swords in order to use it. However, Lu Hao had actually used grass as a substitute for a sword. This level of sword intent had already surpassed hers. This was the most outstanding descendant of the sword steel's Lu family. In the past, whether it was the 13 swords or Lu Hao's grass as a substitute for a sword, Lu Yin would have had to face them head-on if he wanted to break through. During the sovereign tournament, he had broken through the 13 swords, but he had not been able to break through the 13th sword and had been forced to face it head-on. However, after seeing so many of Blacksicle's techniques in the sword steel and how it had broken through so many weapons, Lu Yin inexplicably felt like he had been enlightened, and his understanding of weapons had increased by countless levels. Lu Hao had used grass as a substitute for a sword, and his sword aura had dominated the surroundings. However, Yi Futian was able to clearly see the path of the sword, which was different from the cosmic art. The cosmic art required one to forcefully see the trajectory of the opponent's attack. But at this moment Yi Futian didn't need to see the trajectory. Just based on Lu Hao's movements, Yi Futian was able to sense where this person's sword was going to stab and how powerful the sword will was. If he had the scythe in his hand right now, Lu Yin had absolute confidence that he could break Lu Hao's sword, but he could not reveal too much. A blade of grass tore through the air and descended in front of Lu Yin, attacking his shoulder just like Lu had. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Yin's mind in an instant. With his character he would not be able to see through Lu Hao's swordsmanship, nor would he be able to block Lu Hao's attack. In the minds of the people around him, this attack would most likely land on his shoulder, revealing Lu Hao's invincible strength. Lu Yin's thoughts were complicated. Who said that there was only one inheritance? He thought about everything that he knew and then resolutely used his star energy to form a spear. His left foot moved back a centimeter, perfectly avoiding the blade of grass, and the spear stabbed towards Lu Hao at a strange angle. Not only did it avoid the blade of grass, but it also prevented Lu Hao from advancing. Lu Yin's attack was like a stroke of genius, and it actually forced Lu Hao to retreat. Elder Song and the other experts from the Lu family were shocked. This was not a battle technique but rather insight. This Draconic 7 had seen through Lu Hao's swordsmanship. Even Lu Tianmu was shocked. From what she knew, Lu Yin should not have been able to see through swordsmanship, and he should have been able to face it head-on at most. But that spear. Wait, spear. When did he know how to use a spear? Wasn't the only weapon that she had seen him use the scythe? Lu Hao took a few steps back and looked at Lu Yin in shock. You saw through my swordsmanship just now? Lu Yin used his star energy to form a spear and purposely panted, feeling a little scared. Brother Lu, didn't you say that you wouldn't hurt me? Lu Hao lowered his voice. I didn't plan on hurting you. Did you see through my swordsmanship just now? Lu Yin lowered his head and thought for a moment before nodding. I don't know if I saw through it or not, but I knew where you would attack from and how strong you would be. Quite a few people around them were shocked. Lu Yin had actually seen through Lu Hao's swordsmanship? No other swordsman of the same generation in the Lu family had been able to do so. The older experts of the Lu family were speechless. You've learned swordsmanship before? Lu Hao asked in surprise. Lu Yin shook his head. I saw too many swordsmanship techniques when I received the inheritance from the sword steel. Needless to say, Lu Hao already understood. This person had not only received a palm technique from the sword steel, but also had knowledge of swordsmanship. It was no wonder why the sword steel had recorded so many exquisite sword techniques over such a long period of time. If this person had seriously studied them, he would have been able to break through countless sword techniques with the sword steel's inheritance. Furthermore, this person was from the White Dragon clan and was proficient in spear techniques. The more he thought about it, the brighter Lu Hao's eyes became. He looked at Lu Yin like he was looking at a treasure. Lu Yin felt a chill run down his spine and became vigilant. What's wrong, Brother Lu? Lu Hao passionately replied, Brother Long, why don't you stay? You and I can exchange pointers. I'll teach you swordsmanship and you'll try your best to break through mine. How about that? Lu Yin subconsciously looked around and saw that many of the Lu family members were looking at him with fervent gazes. He understood that these people were using him as a tool to break through sword techniques and wanted to use him to improve their swordsmanship. Only an idiot would agree. Lu Yin refused without hesitation. Brother Lu's swordsmanship is exquisite and I can only see half of it at most. How can I break through all of it? Brother Lu, please don't joke around. Brother Long, my Lu family is not much weaker than the White Dragon clan. As long as you agree to stay, you can view the sword steel at any time, Lu Hao promised. Even the Lu family's patriarch might not have the qualifications to make such a promise. But since Lu Hao had said it, no one dared to object, including Elder Song. I'll update at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1391. How could Lu Yin possibly agree? He laughed dryly. Brother Lu, please don't joke around. I don't have that kind of fortune. Lu Hao felt that it was a pity as he knew that Lu Yin was unlikely to agree. After all, he was from the White Dragon tribe of the Four Cardinal Scales. No matter how great the Lu family's reputation was, it was still limited to the Middle Realm. The The White Dragon tribe was from the top realm, and they were naturally superior to others. Then let's continue. I want to see how far Brother Long can go. Lu Hao waved his hand again, summoning another blade of grass. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Lu Yin. Lu Yin didn't want to continue fighting, but Lu Hao would never give up. He wanted to keep Lu Yin here to break through the sword technique, but Lu Yin didn't agree. He couldn't give up on this rare opportunity. In the blink of an eye, an hour passed. During this time, Lu Hao had not used any powerful attacks and had only used simple sword techniques. Lu Yin had broken through them step by step. Lu Yin had never seen these sword techniques before, but for some reason he was able to instinctively break through them. Furthermore, he was able to do so in the simplest way. In comparison, Lu Hao's sword techniques were much more complicated. Lu Hao's eyes grew brighter and brighter. In just an hour, his understanding of sword moves had increased a little. Some sword moves could be completely abandoned. This person was indeed capable of breaking sword moves. In the outside world, Long Kue was still in shock. That brat Long Qi had actually fought with Lu Hao for an hour. Lu Hao was someone who dared to challenge young ancestor Long Tian. During the Yuan Luan sacrificial competition, he was also one of the top experts, second only to the young ancestor. In terms of strength, he might even surpass Princess Long Xi. This Long Qi could actually fight with him to this extent. Could it be that in such a short period of time, his strength had improved to the level where he could fight with Princess Long Xi? No, that wasn't right. Lu Hao had not used his full strength and he had only used his sword technique. Even so, that was still very terrifying. Once Long Seven's cultivation increased and he broke through to the Enlighter realm, he would definitely be able to fight against Princess Long Xi. This young man wasn't as weak as he had imagined. Maybe the sword steel had transformed him. Long Kue had not forgotten how Lu Yin had extracted the dragon's blood back at White Mountain. Although that spear strike had been domineering, he had not comprehended the spear at all. It was as if he was a completely different person from the current Long Kue. It was indeed the sword steel that had transformed Lu Yin. He immediately contacted Long Xi. The more he fought, the more excited he became. Lu Hao gradually forgot to control his strength and his attacks became fiercer and fiercer. The grass in his hand had long since been replaced by a sword. He was expressing his respect for Lu Yin, and he unconsciously used the sword move that he had used against Long Tian and the other peak experts. Sword origin. Sword origin came from the sword steel. Swords had a spirit and contained origin qi, just like the spirituality of humans and the spirituality of all living things. Sword origin was the spirituality of a sword. The moment Lu Hao unleashed his sword origin, his sword changed and he drew upon the enlighter strength within his body to unleash an unparalleled destructive power. Lu Yin had clearly parried this attack with his spear, and logically speaking he should have broken through Lu Hao's sword technique. However, his spear still shattered as Lu Hao used brute force to break through his technique. His sword seemed to be able to cut through the void as it slashed towards Lu Yin. The surrounding Lu family members exclaimed. Elder Song frowned. In terms of sword techniques, Lu Hao could not surpass Dragon 7. It was time to end it. Against Lu Hao's attack, Lu Yin would not have been injured if he had just stood in place. There were many Lu family experts around, and the envoys could have cut off the void at any time. However, Lu Hao felt that this was not enough, as just revealing his previous strength was not enough to attract the junior ancestor's attention. He raised his hand and the shattered spear scattered in all directions to form a flow diversion diagram. This was the third inheritance that he had revealed, and it was also the inheritance that would attract the junior ancestor's attention. The Lu family experts who had been about to attack suddenly paused. Lu Hao's sword slashed at the flow diversion diagram, and the sharp edge of the sword was forcefully scattered. It swept in all directions, but fortunately, it was blocked by the Lu family experts. In the same spot, fireworks bloomed above Lu Yin's head. The streaks of sword qi had been scattered, and Lu Hao's sword had not been able to advance even an inch. Although Lu Hao had not fully displayed an attack that could be used against someone at the same level as him, this attack was still not something that an ordinary hunter could withstand. Even an enlighter would find it difficult to withstand, but it had actually been broken through. Lu Hao was shocked and he retracted his sword and retreated. He stared at the flow diversion diagram in shock and confusion. Is this a source box array? Everyone was stunned. Lu Yin panted heavily and his face was pale. That's right, a source box array. You actually know how to set up a source box array. An elder from the Lu family asked in disbelief. Lu Yin smiled bitterly. I obtained an inheritance from the sword steel. Everyone was speechless. How many inheritances had Lu Yin obtained? Was this for real? When they thought about how Lu Yin had been immersed in the array for 6 days, it seemed possible. The sword steel was too biased, and it had given him so many inheritances. Lu Hao was speechless, and he looked at the flow diversion diagram curiously. You've learned lock-breaking before? Even if Lu Yin had received the inheritance, he would not have been able to comprehend a sourcebox array so quickly if he did not know how to lock-break. It was not a battle technique after all. Lu Yin deactivated the flow diversion diagram and nodded. He tiredly said, I learned it a long time ago. My domain is very strong. He then released his domain and swept it out in all directions. Everyone was shocked again, as they had been shocked by Lu Yin several times today. Lu Hao spoke up. This domain's power is not bad, and you were able to withstand my sword. Your name will spread throughout the astral tree domain. Long 7, you're worthy of Long Shi. Lu Yin pursed his lips, not knowing how to respond. It's just a pity that your realm is too low and you started off too late. Otherwise, you might have been able to enter the ruler's realm, Lu Hao said. He then looked at Lu Yin. Come to my Lu family if you have the chance. The frigid Immortal sect is ruthless, and they will not let you off easily. Lu Yin could hear the sincerity in Lu Hao's words. This person's entire heart was focused on the sword, and it seemed that many people who trained in sword techniques were like this. Although the sword sect did not get along well with Lu Yin due to their own interests, most of the sword sect's disciples focused on sword techniques and were not interested in anything else. This was how the king of the sword had come to exist, and the sword steel's Lu family should be the same. The crowd quickly dispersed, and Elder Song was full of praise for Lu Yin. Come back when you have time, kid. I'll let you view the sword steel again. Lu Yin had not expected this elder to be so generous. Elder Song smiled. Sectarian bias is deeply ingrained in humans. All I can do is try my best to fight for opportunities for the younger generation. You're not bad. Lu Yin was grateful. Thank you, senior. He was still conflicted about what to do about Lu Ku. Under normal circumstances, the Lu family would have sent someone to show Lu Yin around. Lu Yin wanted to use this opportunity to think about how to proceed, but the Lu family seemed to have no intention of showing him around. Even Lu Hao, who had tried his best to rope him in, had left. Lu Yin looked around. Although the Lu family members were all looking at him with burning gazes, none of them seemed to have any intention of inviting him. Was this how they treated their guest? Seeing that Elder Song was about to leave, Lu Yin hurriedly called out, Senior, please wait. Elder Song looked at Lu Yin. Is there something else? Lu Yin knew that this elder had a high status in the Lu family, and he treated Lu Yin very well. He was even willing to give Lu Yin another chance to view the sword steel. If Lu Yin wanted to complete his mission, he would have to rely on this elder. This was his first mission after entering the 14th gate, and he had to complete it. Otherwise, his future path would be difficult. From the reward of viewing the sword steel, one could see how deep the foundation of the 14th gate was. As he thought about it, Lu Yin bowed deeply. Junior Long Qi from the 14th gate. I'm very grateful for your praise, but I came here with a mission. I've offended you and the Lu family. When they heard this, many of the people who had yet to disperse were furious. The 14th gate wants to capture someone from the Lu family? How dare you? The ancestor has spoken, and no one from the Lu family will be taken away. The Lu family specializes in the way of the sword, and there will be no traitors. Brat Scram. Through Zhang Dingtian, Lu Yin knew that the Lu family hated the 14th gate, but he hadn't expected it to be so intense. In the distance, Zhang Dingtian frowned. He had still seen this scene. Lu Tianmu turned and left. Lu Yin faced the accusations of the Lu family members, but he still bowed deeply with a respectful attitude. Behind Elder Song, a senior of the Lu family shouted, Leave, the Lu family does not welcome you. Kid, who's your mission target? Elder Song suddenly asked, and the crowd immediately quieted down. In the crowd, a youth's eyes flickered uneasily. He had been the one who had shouted the loudest and first. Lu Ku, Lu Yin answered. The crowd was in an uproar, and some of them stared at the youth who had shouted the loudest. He was Lu Ku. Elder Song looked over as well. Lu Ku's face paled, and he gritted his teeth as he glared at Lu Yin with bloodshot eyes. Your 14th gate still wants to frame my Lu family? You're the four-way scales lackeys. What benefits did the four-way scales give you that you want to destroy my Lu family? Many of the Lu family members agreed. That's right, the 14th gate is the four-way scales lackeys. Get out of the sword steel. Lu Yin looked at the youth. You're Lu Ku? Lu Ku raised his head. That's right, I am. Do you have any proof that I'm a spy? Show me if you do. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Ever since the last incident, everyone knows the Lu family's attitude towards the 14th gate. If that's the case, why did they send me to capture you? Your family's ancestors have already spoken, but they still issued this mission. The only reason is that you're definitely a spy. There's no mistaking it. Many of the Lu family members fell into deep thought as they had also thought about it. The Lu family's attitude had been so obvious, but the 14th gate had still issued the mission to capture Lu Ku. Either the 14th gate was targeting the Lu family or Lu Ku was a spy. If they were targeting the Lu family, the 14th gate would not have sent a hunter, especially one who was the son-in-law of the White Dragon clan's main bloodline. It was obvious that they wanted to use his status as a White Dragon to make the Lu family apprehensive. This did not seem like they were targeting the Lu family. Rather, it seemed like they really wanted to complete the mission. Lu Ku was furious. Cut the crap. If you have any proof, show me. It seems like you don't have any proof, Lu Yin said coldly. Lu Ku panicked, but then he sneered. I didn't betray the humans and I'm not a spy. Where did you get the proof? Unless you're faking it, you're dreaming if you think you can do that in front of my Lu family's sword steel. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. The mission had only stated that he wanted to capture Lu Ku, but he had not been given any proof. The 14th gate should have been absolutely certain that Lu Ku was a spy, but they had no proof. Otherwise, they would not have gone through so much trouble. Thank you. Just look at the wind, DZF Heavenly Slayer, thank you for your support, and I'll continue to update at 3 p.m. Thank you. Chapter 1392. The interrogation would succeed as long as he captured Lu Ku, but the Lu family would not allow him to do so. Elder Song looked at Lu Yin. Kid, unless you can prove that he's a spy, you can't take him away. The ancestor has already spoken, but don't worry. Since the 14th gate suspects that he's a spy, the Lu family will not let him off. The family has its own interrogation methods and any spy will not be able to escape. Lu Ku's heart sank. He had forgotten that even if he escaped the 14th gate, he would not be able to escape the family's interrogation. Lu Yin felt troubled. Senior, there are many families in the astral tree realm, and if they all interrogate freely like the Lu family, then my humble school will not be able to do anything. Then show us the evidence. The humble school represents humanity's righteousness, but we can't just slander you, Elder Song said. Lu Yin's mind raced as he listened to the discussion around him. His gaze turned cold. Senior, please allow this junior to speak to Lu Ku. Elder Song nodded. Lu Yin looked at Lu Ku and walked over. Lu Ku wasn't worried. This was the Lu family and he wanted nothing more than for Lu Yin to attack him. His eyes were filled with provocation and pride. Lu Yin was less than 10 meters away from Lu Ku before he was stopped by the Lu family. What's your mission, Lu Ku? Lu Ku sneered. This idiot was trying to get information out of him. What mission? I'm just an ordinary member of the Lu family. What mission would I have? As soon as he finished speaking, his surroundings suddenly changed. The person in front of him was no longer Lu Yin, but a corpse king shrouded in darkness with only a pair of scarlet eyes visible. The corpse king raised a hand and slashed down, splitting the world. Despair filled Lu Ku's mind and his pupils shrank. No, I'm one of you. Don't kill me, I've done well for you. I've helped you gather information about the Lu family, and I've drawn a sword steel for you. Suddenly, his surroundings changed again and he saw Lu Yin smiling in front of him. He saw the disbelieving gazes of the Lu family members and Elder Song in the distance, his eyes filled with killing intent. It's an illusion. You created an illusion. He immediately knelt down and faced Elder Song. Elder, this Long Seven attacked me. He used an illusion to confuse me. Elder, please help me. Everything I said just now was a trap. Elder, please help me. I only created the illusion of certain death and I didn't say anything. You were the one who told me everything. This was Night's End Daybreak and Lu Yin had used the pure Night's End Daybreak. Even though it was clearly an illusion, it still forced the opponent to fall into it. Lu Ku was just a cruiser, so how could he resist Lu Yin's Night's End Daybreak? Using an illusion to confuse someone was an effective interrogation technique for the humble school, but it was only effective against ordinary spies. Lu Ku was the only spy in the Lu family, so normal illusions were useless against him. Otherwise, the humble school would not have needed to capture him, as they could have interrogated him just by seeing his face. Only Lu Yin's Night's End, Daybreak was different. It was the most powerful illusion attack in the entire 5th mainland and even the 6th mainland. It could cause someone to fall endlessly into it. During the Sovereign Tournament, even Zhou Xian, whose spiritual force surpassed Lu Yin's, had been dragged into it. Wang Yi and the Xianxia had both fallen for it, and it was a truly top-notch illusion. Even in the astral tree realm, it was definitely top-notch, so how could Lu Ku resist it? However, this was also thanks to the fact that Lu Yin had used the illusion here, as Lu Ku had been completely unprepared. Otherwise, he would not have spilled the beans so easily. Thank you, Senior, for allowing this junior to step out. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Lu Yin bowed to Elder Song. The moment he had acted, some of the Lu family's experts would have been able to stop him, but they had all been stopped by Elder Song. This old man truly admired Lu Yin, and of course he also wanted to witness the truth. Elder Song's expression turned ugly. The family has produced a scum. It's the family's lack of discipline. He then swept his sharp gaze over Lu Ku, killing him on the spot. Lu Yin's heart skipped a beat. He had thought that the Lu family would agree to hand Lu Ku over to the 14th gate, but he had not expected that the matter would be resolved so decisively. Had his mission been completed or not? Elder Song left in a bad mood. The rest of the Lu family also looked at Lu Yin with unfriendly gazes, but they did not say anything. Lu Ku was indeed a spy, and it was an indisputable fact that they could not treat the 14th gate as an enemy just because of a single spy. Brother Long, I'll take you out, Zhang Dingtian said. Lu Yin nodded, turned to the sword steel and bowed again. Forgive me. He then followed Zhang Dingtian back the way they had come. When they were quite a distance away from the sword steel, Zhang Dingtian said, Actually, when you mentioned Lu Ku's name, he wouldn't have been able to escape. The Lu family would definitely have interrogated him, so there was no need to do something so superfluous and make the entire family unhappy. Lu Yin was helpless. I just joined the 14th gate, so I can't be too careless with my first mission. Zhang Dingdun said, Do you know that you might not be able to view the sword steel again because of this? Lu Yin had already mentally prepared himself for this, but there were always gains and losses in life. If he could complete his mission for this reason and gain the appreciation of the 14th gate's master, then his future path would be much easier. In his heart, an opportunity was far less valuable than a smooth path. The two did not speak for long, and they soon arrived at a place 50,000 kilometers away. Here, countless people were kneeling in worship, and Lu Yin could faintly hear something about the sword's steel glowing. After a while, Lu Yin saw the giant Ho in the distance and Long Kue looking at him. He said to Zhang Dingun, Brother Zhang, we'll part ways here. Zhang Dingtian nodded. Brother Long, I wish you a safe journey. Lu Yin nodded and watched as Zhang Dingtian returned. Not long after, Lu Yin was seated on Ho's back, and the Ho flew off in the direction of White Mountain. Since he had joined the 14th gate, Lu Yin could not return to the Yin Mountain district. The only place he could go in this region of space was White Mountain, even if Long Shi was not there. Along the way, Lu Yin recounted what had happened beneath the sword steel. Many people had seen what had happened, and with the White Dragon clan's abilities, it would be easy for them to find out, so there was no need to hide anything. You actually used an illusion that caused the spies to fall for it? Those spies have more or less cultivated spiritual force resistance, especially Lu Ku. As the only spy in the Lu family, even an enlighter who was close to the level of an emissary would not be able to cause him to fall for it. How did you do it? Long Kue was shocked. Lu Yin had already thought of an excuse on the way here. He had to thank Guan Yun for letting him know that there was a person in the astral tree that Guan Yun admired the most. His name was Kue Luo, and he was a notorious powerhouse who also cultivated spiritual force. Elder, have you investigated how I, Long Tian, managed to cultivate to the hunter realm? Lu Yin suddenly asked, as the topic had nothing to do with the illusory realm. Long Kue's eyes flashed, but he did not try to hide anything. I did, but I couldn't find anything. Lu Yin smiled. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. A very ordinary member of the White Dragon clan from the Lian Mountains branch actually became a hunter. His physical strength and domain aren't weak, and his strength is comparable to some of the main bloodline's disciples. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be possible, right? Long Kuei fell silent. Actually, my cultivation method came from someone who Elder Long Kuei must have heard of. Kuei Luo, Lu Yin said in a low voice. Long Kuei gasped and even Tian Ho paused. Two large heads turned to look at Lu Yin in shock. Kuei Luo? Quasi-ancestor Kuei Luo? Long Kuei shouted. Lu Yin nodded. Half-ancestor Kuei Luo. For some reason he left behind a portion of his inheritance in the Lian Mountains and I obtained it by chance. The illusion that caused Lu Ku to fall into Kuei Luo's trap came from him. My physical body cultivation and domain cultivation all originated from that inheritance. Unfortunately, there is too little of it and I can only cultivate to this level. Long Kuei's pupils dilated. Kuei Luo was a peak half-ancestor whose name had spread throughout the astral tree. His reputation was just as bad as his strength. Kuei Luo was an expert in spiritual force illusions, and it was unknown what kind of stimulation he had received since he was young. This person's mental state seemed to have some problems, and his temperament was sometimes ruthless and heartless. Other times he was like a child and he would often expose other people's secrets. This had led to countless people trying to kill him, and he had even publicized the inherited battle techniques of some family powers. This person was a legend in the astral tree and he was the epitome of madness. You actually inherited Kuei Luo's inheritance? Long Kuei was stunned. Lu Yin nodded. He knew that this was a ridiculous lie, but no one could prove that he was lying. Most importantly, because of the four-way scales propaganda, Kuei Luo was recognized as a lunatic by everyone. He was someone that everyone avoided like the plague and anyone who clung to him would be unlucky. No one wanted to have anything to do with him. Not even Kuei Luo's son would admit his identity. Lu Yin had purposely pointed out that his inheritance came from Kuei Luo, which was inconceivable to those in the astral tree. Even a powerhouse like Long Kuei was stunned, so one could only imagine Kuei Luo's reputation. The more shocked Long Kuei was, the more he believed Lu Yin, and so did the others. If Lu Yin had said that his inheritance had come from someone else, no one would have believed him. How could there be such a coincidence? But Kuei Luo was someone they had to believe even if they didn't want to. It was common sense that no one wanted to have anything to do with Kuei Luo. The atmosphere was a little tense and Lu Yin could clearly sense that Long Kuei was looking at him with a strange gaze. Lu Yin had no choice. If others found out about this lie and believed that his inheritance had come from Kuei Luo, then his reputation in the universe would take a hit. Still, it was better than having his identity as a stowaway exposed. Furthermore, he wasn't Kuei Luo's disciple and had only received a portion of his inheritance. It wouldn't be too serious and the White Dragon tribe wouldn't ruin his reputation. Lu Yin believed that Long Kuei had already reported what had happened below the sword steel to Long Shi and even Long Tian. He was now waiting for the White Dragon tribe to contact him, but he was also waiting for the 14th gate to contact him. He had no idea where the 14th gate had reported. A day later the Cloud Connect stone vibrated. Lu Yin looked down and saw that it was Long Shi. Long Shi's image appeared and she looked at him strangely. Lu Yin pursed his lips. Actually, I didn't want to say it but I had no choice. Can you help me keep it a secret? Long Shi frowned. How much of Kuei Luo's inheritance is there? Lu Yin was helpless. Only enough to cultivate to the hunter realm. End of this chapter. Chapter 1393. Long Shi's head hurt and the more she looked at Lu Yin the more annoyed she felt. This person had always been dishonest and he kept causing trouble for her. Now, the most notorious person in the entire astral tree was involved. Once exposed, the White Dragon tribe would become a laughingstock. Remember, don't mention this to anyone in the future. Long Shi barked. Lu Yin nodded. Don't worry, I know. I'm an honest person. Long Shi's head hurt even more when she heard this. Every time Lu Yin said something like this, he would definitely cause trouble. Many people know that you obtained an inheritance from the sword steel, and the spiritual force inheritance was also announced to the public that you obtained it from the sword steel. Lu Yin blinked. He had wanted to say this before, but he felt that obtaining so many inheritances from the sword steel was even more ridiculous. All right. How was your fight with Lu Hao? Long Shi looked at Lu Yin, her eyes shining. This husband that she had thought to be useless was actually emitting a radiance that illuminated the entire astral tree. He had inherited the sword steel for 6 days, and this result had surpassed that woman's. It had shaken the top realm and brought glory to the White Dragon tribe. Lu Yin was helpless. He's powerful, very powerful. Nonsense. Long Shi couldn't help but shout. Lu Yin pursed his lips. I'm not bad either. If we fought at the same level I might be able to win. Long Shi's eyes lit up and her amber eyes became even more beautiful. I'll meet you soon to test your strength. If you're strong enough you can come with me to the junior progenitor planet to broaden your horizons. The junior progenitor planet? Lu Yin was stunned but he soon rejoiced inwardly. That's right, he wanted to go to the junior progenitor planet. It was a planet that the astral tree gave to those who had reached the junior progenitor planet to cultivate. There were many resources there and the junior progenitor would select experts to accompany him to the sovereign realm. 4 junior progenitors meant 4 junior progenitor planets. The selection process would be very lively, and many people would go there to fight for this opportunity, even though it was very rare and dangerous. Has the 14th gate issued any missions? Long Shi asked. Lu Yin shook his head. Not yet. Tell me immediately if you receive any missions. I'll remind you again that you're not just related to yourself, but also the entire White Dragon tribe. Long Shi's expression changed quickly. Lu Yin hurriedly agreed. While Lu Yin and Long Shi were talking, Long Tian was also trying to contact Xiao, the leader of the 14th gate. Unfortunately, he was ignored. Long Tian was furious. Even the supervisor of the 9 gates, Qingchen, wouldn't be so disrespectful. No matter how Long Tian tried to contact him, Owl did not agree. Not long after he ended his conversation with Long Shi, Lu Yin's intelligencer stone vibrated. It was Xiao, the master of the 14th gate. Fly to the armor pass to meet Guoshan. Elder, please proceed to the flying armor pass. Long Kuei was astonished. The location of the 14th gate? Lu Yin nodded. She immediately changed the direction of their flight. It will take about 12 days to get to the flying armor pass, Long Kuei said. Elder, are you familiar with the flying armor pass? Lu Yin asked. Long Kuei answered, the flying armor pass has a special terrain like a cauldron. Since ancient times, many powerhouses have worshipped their ancestors. It's also the place where many powerhouses break through to envoys and undergo their tribulations. That's why there are tribulation crystals there, and it's one of the few places in the entire astral tree domain that has them. You should know how precious they are, as even the 4 cardinal scales have very few. That's why the 4 cardinal scales often fight over that place. For the past 100 years, the flying armor pass has been controlled by the White Dragon tribe. The 14th gate wants you to go there because they want to use your identity. Tribulation crystals? Lu Yin did not know, as he had never heard of them before. Guan Yun's memories were as vast as the ocean and he had only seen a little. He could not ask now, so it was probably common knowledge. The White Dragon tribe is not peaceful internally, and there are conflicts between the main bloodlines. Don't act rashly when you reach the flying armor pass. Remember, you are a member of the White Dragon tribe before you are a member of the 14th gate, Long Kuei reminded him. Lu Yin nodded. Got it. Based on the 14th gate style, he should be able to obtain a reward for capturing Lu Ku if he went to the flying armor pass. Even if he had not succeeded, Lu Yin was the one who had exposed Lu Ku, so he should have made some contributions. Lu Yin wondered what the reward would be. Long Kuei did not share Lu Yin's anticipation. The 14th gate had actually sent the mission to the flying armor pass? What was the meaning of this? Was there a spy there? If there really was a spy, then it would be troublesome, as it would become an excuse for the 4 cardinal scales to fight over the flying armor pass again. Long Kuei immediately contacted his family, as this matter had already exceeded the scope of Long Shi and Long Tian's ability to decide. 10 days after Lu Yin left the sword steel, a beautiful and agile woman appeared 50,000 kilometers away from the sword steel and waited quietly. Not long after, Zhang Dingtian arrived as well. Are you Miss Yu Qin? The woman was Yu Qin, and she had personally appeared at the sword steel for only one reason: to invite Lu Hao to assist Bai Xiaohong in his journey to the sovereign realm. Brother Zhang, I've heard a lot about you. You joined the Lu family as a blade cultivator and even became Grandmaster Yijian's disciple. That's rare. Yu Qin smiled, her eyes filled with admiration and admiration. No matter who it was, they would feel comfortable facing Yu Qin. This woman had a natural temperament that made people feel relaxed. You flatter me. Please, Zhang Dingtong said solemnly as he gestured for her to enter. One day after Yu Qin arrived at the Sword Steel's Lu family, someone else arrived representing the Wang family. They also wanted to invite Lu Hao to assist Wang Su in his journey to the Sovereign Realm. The White Dragon clan and Xinwu Plain had naturally sent people as well. There were only so many peak experts in the same generation as the four cardinal scales, and there were even fewer who could truly make people feel at ease. The Sword Steel's Lu family had always been known for their sword Dao. They were upright and had a good reputation, so Lu Hao naturally became the focus of the four cardinal scales. Lu Hao faced Yu Qin and listened to her. He calmly replied, "You should be clear about my Lu family's attitude towards the four cardinal scales. Where did you get the confidence to persuade me?" Yu Qin smiled. "This isn't for the four cardinal scales, nor is it for young ancestor Bai. It's for you, Brother Lu. With the Lu family's ability, Brother Lu has only passed the lower finger at most. You probably haven't passed the middle finger yet, let alone the upper intelligence. As long as Brother Lu is willing to assist young ancestor Bai in his journey to the Sovereign Realm, my cold Immortal sect is willing to help Brother Lu pass the middle finger." Lu Hao sighed. As expected of the cold Immortal sect. How generous. After countless years of accumulation, you still have the energy to help an outsider like me pass the middle finger. Yu Qin helplessly said, "I also hope to pass the middle finger, but my cultivation isn't high enough. Young ancestors' journey to the Sovereign Realm is too important, and it concerns the upper intelligence. I can only bear the pain and give my last remaining resources to Brother Lu. Brother Lu, are you willing?" Lu Hao didn't answer. Yu Qin smiled. "Perhaps Xinwu Plain, the White Dragon clan and the Wang family can also help Brother Lu pass the middle finger, but don't forget that the Sovereign Realm isn't peaceful. Following the strongest expert is the safest option. Throughout history, there has never been a Sovereign Realm young ancestor who hasn't died." Lu Hao frowned. "Miss Yu Qin, are you threatening me?" Yu Qin smiled. "I wouldn't dare. I just don't want Brother Lu to become enemies with young ancestor Bai. This isn't just young ancestor Bai's wish, but also that person's wish." A hint of fear flashed through Lu Hao's eyes. He knew who that person was, and a woman appeared in his mind. She was a peerless beauty and domineering aura that could suppress this era. "Let me think about it," Lu Hao said. Yu Qin smiled. "Of course. Brother Lu will definitely make the right choice." She then bid farewell and left. Soon after, the person sent by the Wang family to persuade Lu Hao arrived. It was a middle-aged man who was an elder of the Wang family. He was surprised to see Yu Qin. Yu Qin smiled at the man and left without hesitation. She didn't even glance at the sword steel. Far away from the sword steel, a young girl walked over. She was lively and cute, and it was Xia Taili. She had invited Lu Hao to accompany Xia Shenfei to the Sovereign Realm on behalf of Xinwu Plain. The Lu family's character was guaranteed, and with their strength, the four cardinal scales would value them. Gradually, Yu Qin and Xia Taili got closer and closer. They gradually saw each other, but they weren't surprised. Xia Taili smiled provocatively at Yu Qin. Yu Qin maintained her smile, looking elegant and beautiful. When she saw this, Xia Taili was displeased. Even her brother had been infatuated with this woman, and she was just a maid. "Hey, you should be bowing to me." Yu Qin replied gently, "All right." She then really bowed to Xia Taili. Maid Yu Qin pays her respects to Princess Taili. Xia Taili was even more displeased. This woman bowed so elegantly as if she was pestering her endlessly. Humph, annoying. She then sped up towards the sword steel. When she passed by Yu Qin, she heard her say, "Brother Shenfei, how are your preparations for the trip to the Sovereign Realm going? There are 2 Supremes and 1 from the Lin generation." Xia Taili clicked her tongue. "Do you think Lu Hao will definitely help Bai Xiaohong? Stop dreaming. Your frigid Immortal sect was the original leader. It would be strange if the Lu family would help you." Yu Qin smiled. "Nothing is absolute. Lu Hao has to think for himself and the Lu family. The general trend is irreversible." "What general trend? Your frigid Immortal sect is the general trend? Narcissistic." Xia Taili rolled her eyes. She didn't want to talk to Yu Qin anymore. Just as she was about to leave, a ray of sword qi suddenly shot into the sky from the side before dissipating. The 2 women looked over in surprise and saw a woman holding a sword. In front of her lay a cultivator from the Lu family. It was Lulu. Lulu half knelt on the ground and raised his head to stare at the woman in front of him. This woman had just inexplicably challenged him and defeated him with a single sword move, leaving a mark of invincibility in his heart. He had tasted this feeling twice during this period of time. Yuqin and Xiaotai both recognized Lulu. After all, there were only a few famous people in the Lu family. When they saw that Lulu had been defeated in a single move, they looked at the woman in shock. The woman was Lu Tianmu. "Where did you learn such a sword technique?" Lulu asked loudly. He couldn't understand. Lu Tianmu calmly replied, "I learned it from the sword steel." Lulu almost spat out blood. He couldn't even hold his sword firmly. It fell to the ground with a clang and the blade cracked. "With the wind, I will work hard to write. Thank you, brothers, for your support." "Thank you." Chapter 1394. After Lu Tianmu finished speaking, he turned to look at Yuqin and Xiaotai. The sharp sword intent enveloped the two as if he was about to attack. Yuqin's eyes flashed and she smiled. "May I ask what your name is?" "Lu Tianmu." "Are you interested in visiting young ancestor planet of Frost Immortal?" Yuqin asked. Xiaotai quickly interrupted, "Don't go to some junior ancestor planet. Go to junior ancestor planet Shenwu. My big brother is junior ancestor Xianxia." Yuqin didn't argue with her. The cold immortal sect's name was well known throughout the starry sky of trees. As long as she mentioned it, they would go if they wanted to, and there was no need to rope them in if they didn't want to. If you go to junior ancestor planet Frigid Immortal, you'll definitely have a chance to go to the sovereign world with junior ancestor planet Frigid Immortal. "Goodbye," said Yuqin indifferently. Xiaotai grumbled, "Why are you acting so reserved? You've got no chest or ass." He then looked at Lu Tianmu with a fervent gaze. "Come to Shenwu's junior progenitor planet. My brother will definitely like you a lot. No, not that kind of like, but that kind of like. Understand?" Lu Tianmu was indifferent by nature and only nodded. "Understood." Xiaotai blinked. "Got it?" She didn't know what she was talking about, but Lu Tianmu had a natural aura that kept people away. She didn't know how to respond. On the other side, the elder from the Wang clan walked over. When Xiaotai saw him, he reminded Lu Tianmu, "Remember, go to Shenwu's junior ancestor planet. My big brother will like you." With that, he hurried over to the sword steel. Compared to Lu Tianmu, Lu Hao was obviously the best choice. If Lu Hao wanted to, he could directly go to the sovereign world. As for Lu Tianmu, he would have to go through the selection process on the junior ancestor planet. She had already attracted the attention of the frozen immortal sect and the divine martial heaven, but Lu Tianmu seemed to think it wasn't enough. So when the elder of the Wang family passed by, she challenged Lulu again. Lulu was speechless. Everyone knew that she wanted to attract the attention of the young ancestor, but could it be someone else? Even his sword was broken. Not long after, Xiaotai left the sword steel. Before he left, he did not find Lu Tianmu. Lu Hao went to find Lu Tianmu. "You want to go to the sovereign world?" Lu Tianmu calmly replied, "I do have such thoughts." Lu Hao was not surprised. The sovereign realm is a place left behind by humans since ancient times, and there are many resources there. It's understandable that you want to go there. Have you decided which junior ancestor you want to follow? Lu Tianmu shook his head. Lu Hao muttered to himself for a moment. Bai Xiaohong from the frigid immortal sect seems easygoing, but he's actually a vicious and sinister person. He hides his true intentions and is adept at manipulating others. His strength far surpasses his peers and no one can see his bottom line. He also has an elder sister who practically controls the entire astral tree galaxy. Xianxia from Shenwu Heaven. He's a righteous man, but he likes to drink. When he drinks too much, he becomes delirious and doesn't differentiate between friend and foe. However, his character is trustworthy. Wang Su from the Wang clan. This woman is as indifferent as you. She doesn't have many friends and very few people know what she's thinking. Long Tian of the White Dragon clan has a good relationship with Bai Xiaohong. He's naturally cold and he doesn't even care about his own clan. He doesn't care about the clan at all. Compared to Bai Xiaohong, he's even more ruthless. Lu Tianmu listened quietly. Finally, Lu Hao said, "You're a member of the Lu family and your obsession with the sword is engraved in your bones. You pursue the pinnacle of swordsmanship, but you're not good at scheming. Thus, if you want to go to the sovereign realm, it's best to follow Xianxia. Wang Su is the second best choice. Got it. Thank you, Lu Tianmu said calmly. After Lu Hao, the seed orchard farmers became farmers. This chapter isn't finished yet. Please turn the page. San Yang also received an invitation. The Lu family was stubborn while the farmers were pure. They were so pure that it made people speechless. They were so focused on farming that not many people in the starry sky tree could understand them. How could farming give birth to a future? Even Yu Qin, who was extremely intelligent, didn't know what to say to Nong San Yang. No one would be able to say anything heroic in front of a farmer. Nong San Yang's appearance was ordinary. At most she could be considered delicate and pretty. However, she was dressed like a farmer. She gripped a hoe tightly in her hand and dug into the ground again and again. Nong Lai was next to her. He had a white cloth wrapped around his head, and when he was tired he would wipe it clean. He treated Yu Qin and the others like air. Hey San Yang, say yes and help my brother go to the sovereign realm. There are good mountains, water and fields there. You can farm there. Xia Taili shouted. In the fields Ho was jumping around. As Xia Taili's voice grew louder and louder, it began to chirp. The elder from the Wang family said, the junior ancestor hopes to meet you again and go to the sovereign realm together. Yu Qin said, the frigid Immortal sect is willing to help you break through the middle finger. She didn't hide the temptation of benefits, but it was the most attractive. Nong Lai straightened his back, looking very tired. He said, sister, have you thought it through? Are you going or not? Nong San Yang drank some water and put the hoe on her shoulder. She looked at the three people outside the field and said, I'll definitely go. I'll tell you after I've thought it through. You guys can go first or you can stay and help with farming. You should know that the vegetation in this area is quite damaged and it's not good for the mother tree. Yu Qin was helpless. She rarely felt helpless when it came to someone, but Nong San Yang was one of them. She couldn't guess what this woman was thinking. Ever since she had met her she had been farming. Who knew what she was farming? Xia Taili, on the other hand, was very interested. His eyes lit up. I can farm too? Let's walk and walk. I want to play. Nong San Yang smiled. Farming is no joke. Don't hurt your back. I'm a cultivator. Xia Taili clenched his fists and stepped into the field. At the same time, in the seed garden, there was a golden wheat field that formed various patterns. Right now in the wheat field, there was a woman harvesting with great difficulty. From time to time, strange creatures would appear in the wheat field and quickly run away, forming a very gentle picture. This woman was Qiu Shi. In the middle realm, inside a nest, a creature with a power level of more than 400,000 was furiously clawing at something with its claws. Outside was an old woman with a cold expression. Eat, eat. After you're done, fly away from me. Suddenly, a gust of wind wrapped around the creature, and with a pained howl, the creature fell straight down. Outside the nest, the old woman's expression changed. Bow, ugh. She looked up and glared at the nest with hatred. Who was it? Who dared to kill my beloved pet? Get the hell out here. She rushed into the nest. As soon as she rushed in, she saw many pairs of bloodthirsty eyes staring at her. The nest was the cruelest prison in the middle realm. It was a dining table for countless creatures. They sounded like lambs waiting to be slaughtered, but there were also strong cultivators imprisoned here. The nest was divided into several regions, and the one the old woman had rushed into was the highest region. The old woman wasn't weak. She had almost reached the edge of the emissary level, but she couldn't leave. She could enter the nest, but she couldn't leave. Did that attack come from you? You're called Shangqing, right? Junior Shangqing. Come with me. It's your destiny. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. It's here. My destiny is here too. Senior. There was a huge region in the top realm with a unique topography. Mountains and rivers jutted from the bottom to the top like spikes. The light in the sky didn't come from the sun, but from a chained ferocious monster that looked like a dragon. This was Shenwu Heaven. 9 gigantic chains connected the sky and the earth, surrounding Shenwu Heaven. Above them was the ferocious dragon that gave the entire Shenwu Heaven light. The dragon's tail was stabbed deep into the ground by a broken blade. On this day, an elegant young man came to Shenwu Heaven. He opened his fan and looked up. Every time I see the hell dragon, I'm shocked. In the distance, several figures quickly arrived and surrounded the elegant young man. The person in the middle said in a low voice, Wu Taibai, you dare come back? Leaving Shenwu heaven without permission is tantamount to betrayal. Arrest him. The elegant young man was Wu Taibai. He was a supreme of Shenwu heaven and was as famous as Xia Taili. He was second only to Xia Shenfei. Wu Taibai looked around. I've brought important news. You can pardon me. Don't listen to him. Let's capture him first. Wu Taibai slapped him away before he could finish. He closed his fan and said, I'm Wu Taibai. Even Xia Shenfei has to be polite to me. Since when did trash like you have the right to tell me what to do? After saying that, his figure flickered and he flew into the depths of Shenwu's sky. As the trip to the top realm drew closer, more and more experts appeared. They all wanted to go with the junior ancestor. Although the sovereign realm was fraught with danger, the opportunities were equally great. Many of the families in the starry sky tree had ancestors who had obtained opportunities in the sovereign realm and established themselves there. Even if they couldn't obtain any opportunities, they could still accompany the junior ancestor and form a friendship with him, becoming an honored guest of the four cardinal scales. If one wanted to enter the junior ancestor's eyes aside from becoming a famous expert, the other way was to head to the junior ancestor planet and stand out from the other experts. Of course, this was a very slim chance. There were too few people who could accompany the junior ancestor to the top realm, and very few were selected from the junior ancestor planet. On the Ho's back, Long Kue was constantly reading the news on the Cloud Connect stone. Everyone was very interested in the trip to the sovereign realm. As long as the junior ancestor could clear the upper wisdom stage in the sovereign realm, he would have a very high chance of reaching the progenitor realm in the future. Unfortunately, there were too few experts who could accompany the junior ancestor. Princess Longxi was one, but he didn't know where the other two were. Lu Yin was also thinking about the sovereign realm and how he could get there. Long Kue raised his head and said in a low voice, We're almost at the Flying Armor Pass. The White Dragon Clan's Flying Armor Army is stationed there. The Flying Armor Army's commander Zhou Xian had a grudge with our main bloodline, so he was sent here. Outsiders don't know about this, and the 14th gate probably doesn't know either. If you want to use your identity as the son-in-law of the White Dragon Clan's main bloodline to investigate this place, you might as well find a stranger. I'll say it again. You're from the White Dragon Clan first and then you're from the 14th gate. This was the second time the reminder had changed. Lu Yin hadn't understood it the first time, but this time he looked at Long Kue. Long Kue was also looking at him with a deep gaze. Thank you. Follow the wind. Thank you for your support. Follow the wind. I'll be working hard to write. Thank you for your support. Thank you. End of chapter. Chapter 1395. When he saw Long Kue's expression, a thought flashed through Lu Yin's mind. He understood that Long Kue wanted Lu Yin to turn a blind eye to this matter. Even if they found out that there were spies, Lu Yin had to keep it a secret and not ruin the White Dragon Clan's reputation. However, Long Kue could not say these things out loud, which was why he had patiently reminded Lu Yin. Do you understand? Long Kue asked. Lu Yin answered, yes. You really do? I definitely understand, Lu Yin replied. Long Kue nodded and his expression relaxed. This kid wasn't that stupid. There were some things that could not be revealed or else it would be a source of gossip, especially when it came to the humble school and the spies. After all, it concerned the entire human race, and not every ancestor was as shameless as the Lu family's ancestor. A day later, Tianho had completely flown into the Grey Mountain Range. This was the border of the Flying Armor Pass. Half a day ago, they had encountered a patrol of the Flying Armor Army, who had bowed to Long Kue from afar. Just as Tianho was flying towards the Flying Armor Pass, Long Kue shouted, "Stop!" Tianho paused and his two large heads suddenly looked towards the south. His gaze was confused at first, but it soon turned to fear. Long Kue's expression turned serious. Let's go take a look. Tianho changed directions and headed south. Lu Yin was confused. Elder, what's wrong? Someone is undergoing an origin tribulation, Long Kue said. Lu Yin's eyes trembled. Origin tribulation? What a familiar term, and he seemed to have heard of it before. Wait, origin tribulation, origin crystal. You know about origin tribulation? Long Kue looked at Lu Yin strangely. Lu Yin answered honestly, I've heard of it, but I don't really understand it. In the distance, the sky suddenly changed. The void distorted, forming a vortex that spiraled up into the sky like a giant monster. It rumbled as the entire void boiled. Lu Yin's pupils shrank, and the star energy in his body flowed out uncontrollably. His fingers trembled as he could no longer control his own strength. The universe is divided into two parts: the representation of the universe and the reality. The representation of the universe is the starry sky that we see, while the reality of the universe is even purer. The biggest difference between an emissary and an enlighter is that an emissary can break through the constraints of the representation of the universe and come into contact with the reality of the universe. The energy in the reality of the universe is called an astral source, and star energy is emitted by an astral source that can be used for cultivation. When you reach the level of an emissary and come into contact with the real universe, you will be able to cultivate astral sources. The astral sources in the real universe are not endless. Emissaries use their bodies as shells and astral sources as chi to absorb the astral sources of the real universe into their bodies, forming astral sources and cyclones. Every astral sources that a cultivator absorbs from the real universe will be reduced by a bit. In order to seize astral sources, the real universe will form origin tribulations. The purpose is to destroy the shell, which is the cultivator's body. This is the origin tribulation, Long Kue explained. Lu Yin was shocked. How could there be such a thing? The astral energy vortex formed in one's body, but was the star energy just an overflow of star energy? He thought back to when he had fought against an emissary from the sixth mainland. That emissary had been able to directly dissolve his star energy. His opponent had used an astral source, which had rendered his star energy useless. From Lu Yin's perspective, the origin tribulation was similar to the relationship between the mother tree and those monsters from the mortal realm. One side plundered while the other destroyed. They were mutually reinforcing and counteracting. Cultivators were like the mother tree and the origin tribulation was like those monsters. Both had the same goal, which was to return everything to the universe. From this perspective, the universe was more like a virtuous cycle of life. Then Bian stopped as the origin tribulation in the distance took shape. Can't we avoid it? Lu Yin asked. Long Kue shook his head. No, we can only block it. The origin tribulation senses the astral sources within a cultivator's body. The more astral sources there are, the more terrifying the origin tribulation will be. If a powerhouse helps to block it, the origin tribulation will also be able to sense it and its power will increase accordingly. Any astral source within the origin tribulation's range will be attacked, no matter who it is. Lu Yin looked into the distance and saw an old man with a crazed expression. He was roaring at the sky and there were quite a few people watching, but no one dared to approach. Come, origin tribulation, come. I'll definitely survive it. The old man bellowed as he pulled out a weapon from his cosmic ring. There were even defensive power vessels placed around him and there were all sorts of strange items. Above his head, the origin tribulation stirred the void and distorted the void. Following that, a stream of air descended from the center of the vortex and blasted towards the old man. The old man's face paled, and he roared as boundless star energy surged into the sky. At the same time, 9-line battle force was imprinted on his palm, and he struck out with a palm strike that was extremely powerful. Even Lu Yin raised his eyebrows as this old man was no ordinary enlighter. The descending stream of air collided with the old man's palm, causing the world to rumble. A violent stream of air swept out in all directions, and the old man was directly pressed into the ground as blood splattered everywhere. At this moment, the vortex above his head twisted. This time it was not a stream of air that appeared, but rather a rope-like shape that whipped towards the old man. Origin tribulations come in all sorts of forms, and no one knows what kind of tribulation they'll face. However, one thing is certain. The form of the origin tribulation is something that has appeared in outer space before. It's like a replay, but it's also like a rebirth, Long Kue said in a low voice. Every expert who had become an emissary had faced an origin tribulation before, as it was a disaster that could not be erased. If 10 emissaries were born, then 100 would be erased by the origin tribulation. The old man's cosmic ring shattered, and he gripped a power vessel that resembled a conch tightly in his hand. At the same time, he frantically swallowed pills in an attempt to recover. The rope that had appeared from the origin tribulation whipped towards the old man. He raised his hand and the conch flew out with a low sound. It pushed open the void and blasted upwards. This power vessel had a power level of over 500,000, which was about the same as the ring that Long Shi had given Lu Yin. The rope whipped against the sound wave and gradually disintegrated it. It then transformed into a spear that ruthlessly plunged down and pierced through the old man's body, pinning him to the ground. There was a pained wail as a girl ran towards the old man. She was most likely the old man's granddaughter. The old man's body had been pierced and he could no longer live. When he saw his granddaughter running towards him, he bitterly said, "I've been unhindered for my entire life, but I still died to an origin tribulation. Silly child, don't cultivate anymore. This path won't work." Then his body was disintegrated by the spear and completely disappeared from the world. The girl ran over, but she did not even get to see her grandfather one last time. All she saw was empty air and the shattered cosmic rings on the ground. Long Kuei shook his head and sighed. Logically speaking, this person should have made sufficient preparations and even had an envoy-level power vessel, so he should have been able to survive. Unfortunately, his body's star energy surged, and the astral sources he could summon far surpassed the average person's. Those enlighters who were prepared could have protected him, but they couldn't. What a pity. He then patted Ji Hao's back and turned around to continue towards the flying armor pass. Lu Yin felt a chill run down his spine when he heard Long Kuei's words. The origin tribulation's power was determined by the amount of star energy in a person's body? This wasn't good, and it didn't make sense. Lu Yin's star energy was 200 times that of a normal cultivator's. Even that old man didn't have as much star energy as Lu Yin, and Lu Yin was still a hunter. How much star energy would he have if he broke through to the Enlighter realm? How many emissaries would he have on the verge of breaking through? He would definitely surpass the old man's by 200 times. Lu Yin gulped when he thought about the origin tribulation that was 200 times more powerful than the one he had just faced. He felt like the universe was filled with malice towards him. If someone undergoes an origin tribulation here, after a certain amount of time, origin crystals of varying sizes will form in this space. This is why the flying armor pass has origin crystals, and they are essential to help someone break through the lower and middle finger stages. Thus, you should understand the importance of the flying armor pass. You must be careful when you go there. Long Kuei couldn't help but remind Lu Yin again, which showed how important the flying armor pass was. Lu Yin was still thinking about the origin tribulation that he had just undergone. Once he failed, his body would scatter. The origin tribulation was both a matter of a person seizing the astral sources of the real universe to cultivate, and it was also a matter of the real universe seizing the astral sources within a person's body. Not long after, a simple city appeared before Lu Yin's eyes. This was the flying armor pass. Ji Hao stopped less than 50 kilometers away from the flying armor pass. The area in front of him was restricted from flying, and no one was spared, including the White Dragon Elder. Long Kuei said, "I can only send you this far. What you need to complete is the 14th mission, so it's not convenient for me to interfere." Lu Yin replied, "Thank you, Elder. Try to delay the completion of the mission as much as possible. The junior ancestor will think of a way for you to return to the upper realm Dragon Mountain," Long Kuei said. Lu Yin nodded and then leaped down to land on the ground. The gray ground was incomparably sturdy, and when Lu Yin stepped on it, he found that it was actually comparable to metal ore. It seemed that the erosion of the origin tribulation since ancient times had caused the ground to change. The gray ground was shaped like a cauldron, and the ancients had an abnormal obsession with cauldrons. Anything that was related to a cauldron was definitely not an ordinary place. Lu Yin thought about the 9-yang cauldron transformation battle technique, and he remembered that it had been a very long time since he had been to the Daoist sect's ruins. He was still very interested in the 9-yang cauldron transformation battle technique, but unfortunately he had never had the time. The flying armor pass was not a place that ordinary people could come to, and as far as the eye could see, there were cultivators everywhere. The closer Lu Yin got to the flying armor pass, the more people there were around him. As his field of vision widened, Lu Yin saw a majestic city. There were flying armor soldiers patrolling the sky and the ground, and there were also flying armor soldiers standing guard at the city gates. Although there were no more rune lines, Lu Yin's control of star energy allowed him to clearly sense that this flying armor pass had an extraordinary aura. This aura reminded him of a sourcebox array. This place was constantly being fought over, and any power that controlled this place would definitely set up an extremely powerful defense. After stepping into the flying armor pass, Lu Yin did not know how to find Guishan, but he believed that Guishan would definitely have a way to find him. If the two of them could not find each other and thus failed the mission, then that would be a joke. Lu Yin casually ordered a few dishes from a restaurant and then looked into the distance. With his vision he could see very far outside the flying armor pass, and he saw quite a few cultivators digging for something underground. There were also some who were using some sort of instrument to probe the area. They were probably all looking for tribulation crystals. Not long after, an ordinary-looking middle-aged man approached Lu Yin. "Little brother, can I sit here?" Lu Yin turned around and saw that the man was smiling. He looked very kind, but his clothes were a little plain and he did not care about his appearance at all. "Please have a seat." The middle-aged man sat down, looked at Lu Yin and smiled. "I'm Guishan." Chapter 1396. Lu Yin looked at Guishan and politely said, "I'm Long 7. Greetings, senior." Guishan smiled. "I didn't expect you to be here so soon. Shouldn't I be here very late?" Lu Yin was confused. Guishan replied, "With your status, you should delay any mission, especially the flying armor pass. This is not an ordinary place." Lu Yin smiled. "The sect must have taken a liking to my identity, which is why they sent me to the flying armor pass." Guishan did not try to hide it. "That's right. What's the mission?" Lu Yin asked. Guishan picked up his chopsticks and ate a few dishes. "Don't worry too much about the mission. In life one must first live a carefree life. I'm a person who believes in sweetness before bitterness. You completed your last mission very well and the sect asked me to reward you." Lu Yin's eyes lit up. "Thank you." Guishan laughed. "You're not humble at all." Lu Yin shrugged. "The humble school is so large and has endless resources. Why would they care about such a small reward? I might as well accept it." Guishan smiled. "That's right, but you guessed wrong. The reward for you is not resources but me." Lu Yin blinked, a blank expression on his face. Guishan smiled. "You must be very powerful with your domain." Lu Yin's eyes flashed. "It's all right." Guishan nodded. "That's right. The sect's reward is for me to teach you how to cultivate your domain." Lu Yin was stunned as he had not expected such a reward. "May I know how far Senior has taught me?" Guishan thought about it. "I've only cultivated to the spiritual transformation realm. No matter how talented you are, you can only reach that realm." "What's the spiritual transformation realm?" "There's no rush. It's too much of a disappointment to talk about such serious matters the moment we meet. I'll take you around the flying armor pass first." With Lu Yin's status, he would immediately attract the attention of the flying armor pass even if he did not advertise his arrival with great fanfare. At this moment, his image appeared in Long Xian's study at the flying armor army's residence. Long Xian's expression was calm as he looked at Lu Yin's image, but his son Long Ding was unhappy. "Father, the princess married this guy?" Long Xian replied, "That's right. His name is Long 7. What a lucky bastard," said Long Ding. Long Xian looked up. "He wasn't lucky. When the princess was looking for a husband, we all gave up." Long Ding's face stiffened. Back then, when Long Shi had been looking for a son-in-law, they had been worried about the cold Immortal sect, so they hadn't agreed. They couldn't blame anyone for that, but he still stubbornly said, "The cold Immortal sect won't let this go. This guy will die sooner or later. Don't look down on him." At first, everyone thought that he was just a branch family member and was useless. But this person has only been in the humble school for a few months. But he's managed to capture spies and expose the Huayuan Humble School's sect leader as Redback. After joining the 14th sect, he even spent 6 days in the Sword Steel, surpassing Bai Xiener and exposing the Lu family's disciples as spies. "He's now a legend," said Long Xian. Long Ding coldly replied, "I was just lucky. Once I break through, I'll be able to go to the junior ancestor planet to help you reach the sovereign planet. At that time, I'll definitely be able to obtain an origin item and break through the middle finger trial or even the upper wisdom trial. I'll even have a chance to break through to the progenitor realm." Long Xian was not happy because of these words. They sounded nice, but every step was extremely difficult, especially for the Lord. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. Even the junior ancestor had died in the slaughter realm, let alone Long Xian. However, this was a step that had to be taken. Once he successfully passed through the sovereign planet, even if he did not obtain an origin item, he would be able to deepen his relationship with the junior ancestor Long Tian. In the future, his status in the family would steadily increase. Long Xian took everything into consideration. Father, the family said that Long Seven's mission was to come to the Flying Armor Pass. Could it be that we have spies or even redbacks? Asked Long Ding. Long Xian frowned. That's impossible. The Flying Armor Pass only has the Flying Armor Army. Who would be qualified to become a redback? As for spies, that's impossible. After a moment of silence, Long Xian waved his hand. Alright, go and cultivate. Since the 14th sect has come to the Flying Armor Pass, nothing good will come out of it. Quickly break through and contact the junior ancestor. That way you'll have some insurance. Yes, I'll take my leave. At the Flying Armor Pass, Lu Yin and Guishan left the restaurant. Under Guishan's guidance, they toured the majestic ancient city. Although it was majestic, it was actually not that spectacular. Lu Yin had seen Night King Planet, Glory Mountain and many other shocking scenes. This Flying Armor Pass could only be considered a city. Don't underestimate this city. The White Dragon Tribe's Flying Armor Army is stationed here, and there's also the legendary Flying Armor Array. That's a very powerful sourcebox array. Look at the ground, it's dark red. The city has been destroyed many times since ancient times and has been rebuilt many times. These bloodstains are from the past 100 years. Even so, the entire city looks like it's been dyed in a pool of blood. This shows just how cruel the war was. Look at that brick. It looks like a brick. Oh sorry, it's really a brick. Lu Yin was led around by Guishan from day to night. Lu Yin was not in a hurry, as long as she had told him to delay the mission as much as possible. Furthermore, Guishan's actions might have been part of the mission's plan, but Lu Yin had not been aware of it. As they walked, Guishan suddenly pushed Lu Yin aside. Lu Yin instinctively resisted, but his physical strength was too great. Even though Guishan had caught him off guard, he was unable to push Lu Yin very far. Lu Yin was even prepared to use his hollow palm to counterattack. Careful, there's an assassin. Lu Yin paused and the people around them looked at them strangely. One was pushing the other away. There was something wrong with their heads. Guishan stared at the ground with a serious expression. Lu Yin followed his gaze, but there was nothing besides a green mud-like substance. Where's the assassin? Guishan pointed at the ground. Do you know what this is? Lu Yin shook his head. It was definitely not poison, or else the ground would not have remained unscathed. This is called an eyelid, or more accurately, a mill. There's also a type of eyelid. Individually, it's useless, but when combined it can form a poison that numbs the meridians and slows the body. Although it's not fatal to the human body, think about it. What will happen if your body slows down? When I say slow, it includes your thoughts and your 5 senses, Guishan explained solemnly. Lu Yin's scalp went numb and a chill ran down his spine. There was actually such a poison? He wasn't afraid of being poisoned, nor was he afraid of any poison that slowed his body's reactions, but this poison could slow his thoughts. Even if he had the secret art of plan, it was useless. Some people trained in certain movements before their nerves reacted, but most people's nerves reacted before their movements. Regardless of which type it was useless against the mill eyelid. It could slow down both one's thoughts and body's reactions. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. This is just a mill? Lu Yin asked. Guishan nodded and looked at Lu Yin seriously. Someone analyzed your movements and told you to step on the mill first, then the eyelid. You were unknowingly poisoned and then finally executed a killing move. You've been seen through, or rather predicted. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. Predicted? Guishan looked around. The assassin is a domain expert and he unknowingly used his domain to predict your movements and ensure that you would step on these 2 poisons. Even I didn't notice. Impressive, it should be an unbounded assassin. Killing intent flashed through Lu Yin's eyes. Unbounded assassins, it was them again. The first time in the mortal realm, one of them had lured Long Xi away while the other had pretended to be dead in an attempt to ambush him. The second time in the mortal realm, they had used their sight as a medium to carry out an assassination. This was the third time. Their assassination methods were becoming more and more strange and it was becoming harder to predict. It was no wonder why they were called the most powerful assassin organization. Every time they failed, they would try again. Although the assassin's strength did not increase by much, their assassination methods were so strange that it made one's hair stand on end. Lu Yin was already very careful and did not dare to look at anything carelessly, but he had still almost fallen for it. He did not understand. He was now a member of the 14th gate. Even if the Unbounded had the guts to assassinate him, who would have the guts to hire them? Were they not afraid of being investigated by the 14th Gate? Commoners tended to protect their own, and they often did not care about evidence. Once they confirmed that someone had hired an assassin to assassinate their own, they would definitely retaliate. Since that was the case, where had Bai Xiaohong gotten the guts to hire an unbounded assassin? Or perhaps it wasn't him. It seems like you've offended quite a few people. You can only blame yourself for being too ostentatious. You're like us. Even if you reveal that you're a redback, few people will know about it and there won't be Zhang Yang all over the universe. Lu Yin was astonished. Are you saying that the unbounded assassins were hired by a spy or a redback? Of course. You're a member of the 14th Gate and the governor is the most protective. Who would dare target you? Even if they wanted to deal with you, they definitely wouldn't hire an assassin to assassinate you. Only a redback would do something like that. Throughout history, the 14th Gate has no lack of experts who have been assassinated. Didn't the governor take revenge on the unbounded? Or use this to track down a spy or a redback? Lu Yin was puzzled. Guishan sighed. Of course, they took revenge and destroyed many of the unbounded strongholds. But you have to know that where there is light there will be darkness. Even without the unbounded, other assassin organizations will emerge. It's better to have a unified unbounded to deter the darkness. Furthermore, the bigger the unbounded stalls, the more scruples they have. They've already restrained themselves very well. As for tracking them down, it's very difficult. Lu Yin understood this logic. No one could completely dispel the darkness, and light and darkness coexisted. Once the unbounded was completely destroyed, many assassin organizations would emerge from the astral tree, and that would cause chaos. No matter what level one reached, there would always be scruples. Lu Yin firmly believed that even a progenitor would not act as they pleased. Let's continue. We can't find that assassin, but with me around, that assassin won't be able to deal with you easily. With your strength, it'll be very difficult to attract a top-notch assassin. The effort and reward aren't proportional, Guishan said, and then he smiled. Now you know the benefits of predicting attacks. Lu Yin nodded and respectfully said, Please advise me, senior. I'll have to trouble you. I'll continue to update tomorrow. Thanks for your support, Windborn. I'm really working hard. End of chapter. Chapter 1397. Somewhere in the Middle Realm, a pair of long dark eyes appeared. Assassination failed. All commissions will be refunded or the price will be raised. Raise the price? Why? Is it because of a failed assassination? Doesn't the boundless realm value credibility? If you raise the price after a failed assassination, who will want to do business with you in the future? Before you, we've tried to assassinate this person twice, but both times failed. This third time failed, so we must raise the price. It looks like the person who hired you has given up. You're treating me like a fat sheep. Raise the price or give up. Please choose. The eyes grew even darker. All right, I'll raise the price, but only once. Don't fail again. You should know that I didn't provide this information. You set the price yourselves. Back at the Flying Armor Pass, Lu Yin entered alone to look for Guishan while Long Kuei had Tianho shrink and lean on his shoulder. Long Kuei also entered alone and went straight to the Flying Armor Army's commander's residence to meet Long Xian. Long Xian was not surprised by Long Kuei's appearance. The two sat across from each other and Long Xian was rather cordial. It's been a few hundred years, but Elder Long Kuei is still the same. You haven't changed at all. Long Kuei smiled. You and I became envoys in a few hundred years, so how could there be any changes? I just went into seclusion and passed. This is the first time I've seen your son. Beside Long Xian, Long Ding bowed respectfully to Long Kuei. Greetings, Elder Long Kuei. Long Kuei nodded, and on his shoulder Tianho curiously sized up Long Ding. Long Ding, is this the meaning of stability? It looks like Brother Xian is living quite comfortably in the Flying Armor Pass. Long Kuei's eyes flashed. Long Xian smiled. I wouldn't dare. After all, the Flying Armor Pass was taken over by the White Dragon tribe with great difficulty. The chaotic battle with the other three forces is still fresh in my mind, and my Flying Armor army sacrificed a lot. How could I be comfortable? Long Kuei replied, Your son's strength is not bad. He's already a hunter and is about to break through to the Enlighter realm. It's a pity that if he had broken through earlier, he might have been able to help Junior Ancestor enter the ruler's realm. What a pity. Long Ding was about to say something but Long Xian beat him to it. I can only blame my son for being unlucky. Long Kuei laughed. Brother Xian should know why I'm here, right? Long Xian nodded. The 14th sect sent someone to the Flying Armor Pass, and the person they sent is the son-in-law of the main branch of the White Dragon tribe, Long Qi. We already know about this. Don't worry about Long 7. The important thing is that the Flying Armor Pass has been targeted by the 14th gate. Brother Xian, do you have anything to say? Long Kuei stared at Long Xian. Ever since he had reported Lu Yin's mission to the clan had ordered him to act as he saw fit. If he discovered that Long Xian was really a redback, he was to kill him immediately. He could not allow Long Xian to be taken away by the 14th gate. Long Kuei did not know whether Long Xian was a redback or not, so he decided to test him first. Long Xian's eyes were gloomy. The 14th sect sent someone here, which only means that there is something suspicious about our Flying Armor Pass, but it doesn't mean that there are definitely spies or redbacks. Why? Does the clan suspect us? I, Long Xian, have been overseeing the Flying Armor Pass and I have never slacked off. Besides, there's nothing in this place that's worthy of those monsters' attention. If there's anything, it can only be tribulation crystals. Has anyone in the clan noticed that the number of tribulation crystals handed over to the clan has decreased? Long Kuei hurriedly raised a hand. The clan does not suspect Brother Xian. It's just that the people from the 14th gate have ill intentions, which is why we're warning you to be careful. The innocent knows their innocence. There's no need to worry about the 14th gate, Long Xian said. Long Ding suddenly said, I'm very curious about Brother Long 7. I want to see what kind of person is worthy of the princess. I wonder if I have the chance to meet him. Long Xian barked, shut up and leave. Long Ding was indignant. Father, I just want to meet Brother Long 7. Long 7 is currently a member of the 14th gate, and he's here to investigate the Flying Armor Pass. We'll talk after the investigation is over. Leave and cultivate. Long Ding had no choice but to bow to Long Kuei. I'll take my leave. Long Kuei smiled and nodded. Even after Long Ding left, Long Xian's anger had yet to subside. I've made a fool of myself. My son's feelings for the princess have not diminished, which is why he's so curious about Long 7. He doesn't have any ill intentions, so please don't misunderstand. He's a youngster. Who doesn't get jealous? Brother Xian, you're taking it too seriously. Long Kuei laughed. Long Xian smiled wryly. I'll show you around the Flying Armor Pass. It's not easy to dig up tribulation crystals, and I'm sure you're curious as well. Long Kuei nodded. Please. Tribulation crystals could be found everywhere outside the Flying Armor Pass, but whether or not one could find any was up to the heavens. Lu Yin looked curiously at the people holding the devices. Can the devices in their hands detect tribulation crystals? Guishan was disdainful. Of course not. It's just a method that some merchants use to make huge profits. These idiots believe it even in their dreams, and they force themselves to believe it. Some people put the credit on those devices after digging up tribulation crystals, and then they use some propaganda to create this effect. As he spoke, a man behind him stared blankly at him with a device in his hand. Guishan sneered once again. The device in the man's hand dropped. Is this thing useless? Guishan rolled his eyes. Lu Yin coughed. Don't listen to him. He's been digging here for hundreds of years and he's just venting his frustration. The man sighed in relief. I knew it. How could it be useless? I just dug up a bit. Guishan and Lu Yin were speechless. You dug it up? Tribulation crystals were not that easy to dig up, as they were not ores that simply stayed in place. Tribulation crystals would move with the flow of the earth, and no one knew the rules behind this movement. Some guessed that it was due to the flow of star energy in outer space, while others guessed that it had something to do with the astral source of the universe. No one had been able to figure out how to dig up tribulation crystals, so it wasn't as simple as turning the earth upside down. An envoy's tribulation would at most produce a fingernail-sized tribulation crystal, and these tribulation crystals would be scattered all over the ground, making them difficult to see with the naked eye. That man took out a transparent crystal bottle very carefully. There was a very, very small shiny crystal inside. Guishan was shocked. It really is a tribulation crystal. Did you dig it up? How long did it take? The man smiled proudly. 9 years. Lu Yin was puzzled. Was it worth it to dig up so little after 9 years? It's worth it. You dug it up in 9 years and sold it to the White Dragon clan. You'll have nothing to worry about for the rest of your life, Zhou Xian exclaimed. The man laughed heartily. I think so too. He then picked up the device on the ground. So the tribulation crystal detector produced by our family is effective. He then turned around and looked at the people around him. Isn't that right, everyone? It's effective. Yes, it's definitely effective. You dug up a tribulation crystal in 9 years. You won't have to worry about anything for the rest of your life. It's worth it. It's worth it. Quick, buy another one. I want a tribulation crystal detector. Zhou Xian and Lu Yin were both stunned. They had been tricked and had helped someone advertise for free. That guy wasn't stupid. The man proudly placed the detector in Zhou Xian's arms. Thank you. He then ran off. Zhou Xian gulped. As a member of the 14th Gate, he was supposed to be a spy redback, and yet he had been tricked here. How embarrassing. Lu Yin's face turned red as well. How embarrassing. He had been tricked. I'm going to kill him. Zhou Xian gritted his teeth and glared murderously at the man's departing figure. Lu Yin covered his head. Right, let's go. It's our fault for being careless. Zhou Xian was indignant, but that man was just a limiter, and he couldn't be bothered with a junior like him. This was what it meant to fail miserably in an easy task. Today was the darkest day of Zhou Xian's life. In the distance, Long Xian happened to arrive with Long Kuei. When he saw this scene, Long Kuei's face twitched. Sco. Long Xian smiled. These people are willing to do anything to dig up tribulation crystals. Some even prayed to the heavens. Please don't take offense, Elder. There were too many people digging around the flying armor pass. Even though there were people who gave up every day, there were still people who joined. Zhou Xian brought Lu Yin to a sparsely populated area to shake off the trauma from earlier. He asked, do you know what the spiritual transformation realm of a domain is? Lu Yin shook his head. I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. Zhou Xian answered seriously, spiritual transformation is literally what it means. It's the process of transforming an inanimate object into a sentient being. Lu Yin's eyes widened. That's impossible. Zhou Xian replied, it's not actually sentient, but rather something that seems to be sentient and easy to control. For example. As he spoke, a rock beneath Lu Yin's feet suddenly bumped into him. The rock that had bumped into him had not been controlled by star energy or a domain. It really did seem like a rock had bumped into him. When a domain is cultivated to the spiritual realm, it can envelop everything in the world and transform them into spirits. It doesn't seem very useful, but think about it. In battle, one can use the earth to suppress an opponent and the air to launch sneak attacks. This can sometimes change the outcome of a battle, Zhou Xian explained. The greatest use of spiritual transformation is to prepare for the cultivation of the empty god realm. Lu Yin's expression changed. The empty god realm was rumored to be the highest realm in a domain. What's the empty god realm? Zhou Xian looked up at the sky and seemed to be imagining things. The so-called empty god realm allows one to manipulate the void, teleport, and forcefully strip away space to reach the realm of being the ruler of an area. That realm has reached perfection, and it allows one to strip away an opponent's attacks and everything else. The most common explanation is that it's equivalent to a secret technique. Lu Yin's eyes lit up. Stripping away space sounded very powerful. He had the plan secret art, the use secret art, and many other methods to block and redirect an opponent's attack. If he really couldn't do it, he could still avoid it. However, those were secret techniques that could not be casually used. If his domain had reached the empty god realm during the sovereign tournament, the battle would not have been so difficult. Even without the death transformation, it would have been difficult for Xianxia to defeat him. Don't think too much about it. The empty god realm isn't that easy to reach. You should first cultivate to the level of predicting attacks, Zhou Xian said. How do I cultivate? Lu Yin asked. Actually, with your domain ability, you could have reached the level of predicting attacks long ago. It's just that you're cultivating in the wrong direction, Zhou Xian said. He then began to guide Lu Yin in his cultivation. Thanks for your support, and I'll be writing again at 3 p.m.